What's up, everyone? How are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto and Fuu political marriage? If you enjoy, then please like, share, and do comments. The figure was sitting in Spring Country, in a little public cafe called the Whirlpool, while sipping some tea he asked for and waiting on another person who was expected to arrive. It had been roughly 4 long years since he had seen this person face to face, and quite frankly, it was taking all of this man's mental discipline to not give in to the urge of slicing the expected guest's head off once he saw him. Not surprising given the betrayal of that day 4 years ago. After years of being put down mentally and physically by his village, the warrior expected praise for proving them wrong. To finally be acknowledged by those that once scorned him and be given the recognition he so craved after years of being denied so much. Unfortunately, all the hard work he put into being loyal to the village had purchased him nothing. Nothing but empty pockets paid for with his blood, sweat, tears, and the broken body that was his own after retrieving that ungrateful Uchiha all the way back to Konoha. It wasn't enough that he had followed his orders given by the Hokage to the letter and handed the spoiled son of a bitch to the powers that be like a gift sans the pretty red bow wrapped around his head like a present sent by Kami. The orders were to bring back one Uchiha Sasuke back to Konoha, if the target resists for whatever reason. The use of force was authorized. You're a hard man to get a hold of, Gaki. You never call, you never write. How do you expect me to get in touch with you? Came the irritating voice of an elderly man sitting in front of the first figure. You don't. You were only able to find me because I allowed you to find me, Jiraiya. I do not wish to be in your presence any more than I have to be from here on out, replied the figure while sipping some more tea with the Sannin in front of him, letting out a boastful laugh and acting like they were old friends to the people around them. That's funny, Gaki. Honestly, you know how to make me laugh, exclaimed Jiraiya of the Sannin while looking at the tall, well-muscled figure in front of him wearing an eye patch over right eye with the second one narrowing coldly at him. Knock it off, Jiraiya. If you are going to be in my presence for a short time, then stop the act of the lecherous fool and talk to me like an actual man, replied the figure coldly as Jiraiya stopped the fake smile and the laughter while looking deadly serious. Fine, if that's what you want. I can be serious too. Naruto, countered Jiraiya with the figure now identified as Naruto kept his one whole eye on the Sannin. Word has it you wanted to talk to me about something. With the something pertaining to the importance of Konoha, asked Naruto with Jiraiya keeping his face impassive. Somewhere else, not here, too many eyes and ears, replied Jiraiya moving to stand and was expecting Naruto to do the same. No, Naruto shot back with Jiraiya looking at him. Excuse me, asked Jiraiya like he was surprised at being unexpectedly challenged. Is your ability to hear failing you? I said no. Sit down and tell me everything or this will be the last time the two of us have a civil conversation ever again, answered Naruto as he jabbed his finger onto the table and gave the Sannin a look that told him he was very serious and risk us being heard by potential enemy spies. Questioned Jiraiya with Naruto just smirking at him. That's your problem, Jiraiya. Not mine. I'm not an agent of Konoha, so I don't have to worry if anything spoken here reaches any enemies of that pathetic village, answered Naruto with Jiraiya narrowing his eyes at him. You have a lot of nerve calling Konoha pathetic, Naruto, Jiraiya said with a scowl on his face while sitting back down. And you have a lot of nerve seeking my help in saving Konoha after everything they put me through. Or is your eyesight so bad you can't see my eye patch that hides the symbol of their betrayal? Of your betrayal? Of Tsunade's betrayal? Asked Naruto while the sun seemed to move away from the clouds slightly and the light in the sky seemed to beam itself onto his face to show the eye patch clearly for the Sannin to see. What do you want me to say about that? That I'm sorry, that Tsunade's sorry? Asked Jiraiya impassively with Naruto letting out another chuckle. No, I don't expect any kind of apology from you or the old bitch. You two are incapable of it and wouldn't mean what you say if you said it anyway. So what would be the point in wanting you to say what you can't and won't say to me unless they're empty without any meaning? Countered Naruto with Jiraiya's eyes narrowing at him. Don't call Tsunade that again, said Jiraiya with Naruto smirking at him. Why? Because it's true, or because after all this time you still want what she won't give you in any shape or form? Asked Naruto with Jiraiya looking pissed off at him. I mean it, Naruto. Call her that again and I'll rip out your heart in public for all to see, replied Jiraiya with Naruto letting out a chuckle. Go ahead and try. My heart has no value to me anyway. It's been abused so many times it has nothing to contribute to my life anymore or to anyone else for that matter, replied Naruto calmly while staring back uncaringly at the Sannin with neither talking for what seemed like several long minutes. We're getting off topic. Back to the business at hand, said Jirya at last, with Naruto just shrugging since he didn't care. Might as well. So what is this business about Konoha needing me to save them? Asked Naruto, with Jirya letting out a sigh before looking around quickly. Ever since Konoha did what they did to you, things have been going downhill for us in general. Allies have left us. Trading rights with other countries have been ruined. Hell, it's only because of my Sannin traveling rights that I'm even allowed to be in Spring Country right now, and even that is for a limited time, explained Jirya, with Naruto scoffing at him. What did you expect when I was beaten up for a job well done? What did you expect when I decided to leave the village to prevent my chakra from being sealed off, and to be thrown away into some cold, dark dungeon with no chance of ever seeing daylight ever again? Asked Naruto, with Jirya's body going tense. So you heard about that, huh? Asked Jirya, with Naruto nodding. Shadow clones make the best spies, answered Naruto, with Jirya shaking his head. Only you would use them like that, replied Jirya, with a hint of respect for him. So what happened after I left the village and everything went to shit? Asked Naruto, with Jirya becoming serious again. Our enemies decided now was the time to strike. Within a year of your departure, the Leaf was attacked over 200 times and on all fronts. Iwa, Kumo, and Orochimaru all hit us in different places at different times, either day or night. On the second year of your banishment, Sasuke made another attempt at going rogue again to chase after Itachi, and another team was sent after him, explained Jirya, with Naruto nodding. I know. He made it to the border of Rice Country in the hopes of meeting up with your former teammate and harnessing the power of his curse seal in order to one day kill his big brother, replied Naruto, with the Sannin looking shocked by this. How do you know that? Asked Jirya, with Naruto smirking at him. Who do you think left him a mangled wreck for the retrieval team to pick up all gift wrapped in a bow? Again, there is a reason why the fool won't tell anyone who defeated him in combat that day, answered Naruto, with Jirya looking shocked by this. You put the retrieval team in quite a situation for doing that, Naruto, after they came back to Konoha with Sasuke. The councils wanted each shinobi to be demoted or executed for the damage done to the Uchiha, replied Jirya, with Naruto smirking. I know. I sent a shadow clone under a henge to observe things in Konoha when that happened. Word spread throughout the village like wildfire about their punishment. Half were demoted, and the other half were executed publicly in front of everyone. It was quite the interesting experience to see someone being the target of hatred instead me being the actual target for once. To be among the crowd, watching them cheer for the death of loyal shinobi who were only doing their job, and the pleading look they sent to the Hokage to show mercy. It must have really broken their hearts, minds, and spirits in the end to know that they were going to die on her command despite completing the mission she gave them. They couldn't dare say they didn't hurt the Uchiha or someone else did their job, for that would mean they failed. They were dead or demoted no matter what decision they made. In the end, they chose to lie. Like you lied and Tsunade lied to me, my oh-so-loving godparents, explained Naruto before he let out an amused chuckle while Jirya could only frown at him. Bastard, exclaimed Jirya, with Naruto smirking at him. That's the pot calling the kettle black, Jirya. Besides, you're lucky I even decided to let you have the Uchiha in one piece, let alone alive to see another sun rise, and still be even remotely capable of breeding with one of his ever-shallow fangirls of his who are only interested in the Uchiha clan name, countered Naruto, with the Sannin showing restraint and wanting to lash out at him. As for the third year you were gone from Konoha, the Akatsuki made their move against the other villages, and were seeking to take other 8 Jinchuriki. Some of the Jinchuriki have gone missing, and some of them are still in their own village being protected from the Akatsuki, explained Jirya, with Naruto nodding at hearing this information. And some of them are dead or even presumed dead, added Naruto, with Jirya grunting at that since he was planning to leave such information on purpose. Then, roughly 6 months ago, I'm hearing word of a rising power lurking in the shadows of the elemental countries that has almost all the daimyos nervous. They are practically scared out of their minds, and ready to piss themselves silly at the mere mention of this single being who is said to be wielding incredible power on a level not seen since the Sage of 6 Paths first walked the lands, continued Jirya, with Naruto smirking further. You're referring to rumors about the Shogun of Shadows, replied Naruto, with Jirya going tense and making a shushing motion. Quiet, you idiot. Don't say his name so loud for everyone to hear. The man has spies just about everywhere throughout the elemental countries. Even my spy network is no match for this guy. He's already had several of them removed before I could get any valuable intel on the guy. exclaimed Jirya with Naruto shaking his head while looking amused at the Sannin. Your spy network is getting old if they can't find anything on him, and to have some of your spies getting killed in the process. Tusk, 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 for shame Jirya, replied Naruto with the Sannin grimacing since he was right. It's not outdated yet. I still have some intel and it pertains to Konoha, countered Jirya with Naruto raising an eyebrow at him. Really? Do tell. Naruto replied with interest in his voice. One of my spies came to me near death. He told me the Shogun of Shadows is planning to attack Konoha out of spite. When I asked for the Shogun's identity, my spy tried to tell me the Shogun's name, but the man's life gave out, and I was left with only that small yet key piece of information, Jirya said with Naruto nodding. And you want me to come back to Konoha to make the Shogun of Shadows think twice before doing anything to the leaf? What is in it for me? Questioned Naruto with Jirya having a small hint of hope in his eyes. In return for your aid, Tsunade has promised that all crimes you are currently charged with will be pardoned, a sizable sum of money will be given, and a seat among the other clan heads. All in all, it is a sweet deal, said Jirya with a smile on his face that was partially fake and Naruto could see right through it. Crimes against Konoha. What supposed crimes would those be, Jirya? Care to name a few of them? Asked Naruto with Jirya not liking the fact he was dissecting the offer. Aside from hurting the Uchiha 4 years ago during the retrieval mission, there are the charges of deserting the Leaf, conspiracy to betray the Leaf, attacking civilians, and the attempted murder of several Konoha shinobi, answered Jirya with Naruto nodding as he heard each charge being told to him and was deep in thought. First off, those charges are a load of crap. I did what was required of me for that mission to bring the Uchiha back. Tsunade said it herself. The use of force was authorized for that mission. I left Konoha because it was either leave or suffer before being killed. I chose to live on MY terms, not Konoha's, not yours, and not Tsunade's terms, my terms. As for the charge of conspiring to betray the Leaf, I was loyal to the village when I had every right to jam a kunai into the back of everyone in it, and never once sold out any Leaf shinobi to any enemy. Attacking civilians. I was defending myself from a mob of them trying to attack me after I brought Sasuke back to Konoha. Attempted murder. I would have thought the charge would have been murder of several Konoha shinobi after I got through with them, replied Naruto, as he saw Jirya look away from him for a second, and was clearly leaving something out. There were charges regarding that incident, but we let them drop since at the time of the discussion you were considered to most likely die from your injuries, and decided to use the attempted murder charge in the event you survived the fall from that cliff side. Said Jirya, seeing his godson for the first time with his 2 eyes since that day, when Kakashi threw that exploding tag at the ground in front of Naruto to cause the boy to fall with the rubble way down below into the abyss that even full-fledged adult shinobi would have a low chance of surviving. Then again, they weren't Naruto and always did pull off the impossible. So basically you can pardon me for all those mentioned charges listed, then arrest me for the murder of those Leaf shinobi. I don't get paid any money owed for my services rendered and strip me of my so-promised clan head position, answered Naruto with Jirya grimace at his response. We wouldn't do that. Tsunade would not, Jirya said while stopping when Naruto gave him an icy glare. She can and would. Do not mistake me for some naive fool, Jirya. Those days are long dead and over, remember. The removal of my name on the Toad summoning contract on your authority is not something even you couldn't forget, Naruto shot back with Jirya sighing at hearing this. Well, Konoha needs your help, Naruto. Will you at least consider it? I can convince the Hokage to pardon you for all crimes the people will want to charge you with, offered Jirya with Naruto scoffing. You have some nerve trying to basically bribe me into helping you for the mess you and the other people in Konoha made for themselves. Why should I even give a damn about that shithole? Asked Naruto with Jirya's eyes narrowing. Because it's your home, answered Jirya with Naruto growling at him. You mean it was my prison, one I escaped from in order to stop suffocating. The people in Konoha don't like it when they don't get their way, and my escape was just that. Them not getting their way since the people in the village wanted me dead or wishing to Kami I had died. My defiance of their wishes was like a slap to the face, and they don't like it. I know they want me back just so they can feel safe knowing their pet is back home to be leashed again, countered Naruto with a cold, venomous tone in his voice that sent a very strong shiver up the Sannin's spine. If that's how you see it, replied Jirya with Naruto's eye narrowing at him, go back to that bitch you call a Hokage. Tell her you failed in your mission to bring back the village's stray pet, and know that any use of force on her part to bring me back will result in the heads of every shinobi she sends being dropped off at her doorstep," said Naruto before Jiraiya moved to strike him. And the Uzumaki moved even faster to counter the strike by grabbing the outstretched arm holding a kunai in the hand. Naruto's left hand was current in Jiraiya's line of sight, as it adorned a metal gauntlet with 3 claws appearing from their hidden spot with the sharp ends less than an inch from the Sannin's face, and the intent to kill clear in the Uzumaki's one blue eye. Jiraiya, for his part, was surprised Naruto could move so fast, counter him so easily, and was now beginning to wonder what kind of training his godson went through. "Don't call Tsunade by that term again, Naruto. I mean it," exclaimed Jiraiya with Naruto just smirking at him. "I'll call her whatever I want regardless if you are around to hear me say it or not. Also, I suggest you order the team of Konoha shinobi you brought with you to stand down. Or your bitch of a Hokage will have to explain to the Spring Daimyo why Konoha shinobi are here when they know they are clearly unwelcome here," replied Naruto in dangerous tone, and saw Jiraiya was shocked. "You knew Konoha shinobi were with me?" asked Jiraiya with Naruto smirking at him. "I know a lot of things. How many came with you, though? 10, 15, all of them are Jounin correct?" asked Naruto with Jiraiya frowning at him. 16 Konoha shinobi if you include me," answered Jiraiya with Naruto smirking at him. "Actually, it's 15 now if I include you," replied Naruto with Jiraiya looking absolutely livid at hearing this. "You killed one of them," accused Jiraiya with Naruto smirking at him. "Your point." "Konoha shinobi aren't allowed in this country by the order of the Spring Daimyo and are to be killed on sight. I simply had my shadow clone kill your now dead Jounin and henge into him while listening in to the others listening in on us. Even now, they are no doubt scrambling to find out which one of their numbers has been killed, all the while trying not to draw attention to themselves," answered Naruto, while tightening his grip on Jiraiya's still outstretched hand to make the Sannin drop the kunai in his hand. "Your window of opportunity at becoming a Konoha shinobi again just closed, Naruto," said Jiraiya with the Uzumaki grinning a feral grin at the Sannin. "Good. I don't want your so-called opportunity, Jiraiya. It's a joke. A cruel joke meant to be played on me. Go back to the Hokage like the good obedient and whipped pet you are Sannin. Tell your master and those that rule over her. This is Konoha's chance to beg for mercy," replied Naruto before throwing Jiraiya into a nearby wall with the people around them scattering. "I tried to be civil with you, Gaki. I offered you a chance to come back and all would be forgiven for your actions, but you've decided to take the hard way in life and be a pain in Konoha's ass," exclaimed Jiraiya while getting a real good look at Naruto and his attire since they first started to talk. Gone was the naive, short, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, orange-loving, and even wearing the color for a moron of an Uzumaki. Gone was the kid who constantly bragged about being Hokage and devouring ramen like a fat kid did free chocolate cake off an assembly line. Gone was the kid that had poor chakra control, knew so few jutsus, and summoned the toad boss Gamabunter out of sheer stupid luck. In his place stood a shinobi warrior of the battlefield. Naruto now wore black with orange around him in the form of flames around the black in shinobi attire with several pieces of armor around the shoulder and legs resembling that of a samurai. He walked with heavy steps now, meaning the Uzumaki in front of him also wore weights, and they were very heavy ones to boot. His head wore a shinobi helmet piece that strangely resembled that of an orange fox with red eyes, and another once over of Naruto's appearance realized the orange, flames, and he design weren't flames at all. They were tails. On Naruto's left hand was the clawed gauntlet that had been near his face earlier and was sporting 3 jagged-edged blades for claws that the Sannin knew from the look of them could do some serious damage. The right hand was also that of a gauntlet, but without the claws on that one, and it was then Jiraiya noticed the sword at the Uzumaki's waist. It was giving off a demonic aura now like the rest of Naruto, and saw the eye patch had a light of red behind it, as if the only thing holding back the incredible power waiting to shoot out of the optic hole was the eye patch. Before Jiraiya could contemplate this further, he saw Naruto disappear, and then reappear in front of him with that sword drawn. The sword itself had marking all along both sides and was crackling with a yellowish, sometimes crimson electricity. Jiraiya had heard the stories of this sword, and the one currently wielding it when the Akatsuki had come for him during the 4 years of being declared a missing nin of Konoha. The zombie brothers of the Akatsuki, who were considered to be unbeatable by many given their own unique powers, were the first to fall at the hands of Naruto and collected the bounty at the exchange station. It was a neutral organization that took no sides in the shinobi world, but ironically were funded by all them with a purpose of paying whoever collected the bounty on any missing nin in the bingo book, and were expected to pay whoever came to collect the bounty, provided there was proof of the marked target. It was well known that the two members of the Akatsuki that Naruto killed had very heavy price on each of their heads. Naruto came out of the exchange station a wealthy man. A fact that pissed off Konoha and the Akatsuki to no end for entirely different reasons. That sword, the sword of the Jubai, said Jiraiya at seeing the weapon rumored to be located in Whirlpool, but was never found despite man attempts, and was considered to be lost forever. Also called the sword of the Archfiend. I'm glad you heard of it. This weapon was said to be forged from one of the fangs the Sage of Six Path took off the actual Jubai, that its power is so great. Only someone of direct bloodline lineage to the Sage of Six Path can wield it to its fullest potential, replied Naruto, with Jiraiya burning the memory of the sword into his brain to tell Tsunade about it, provided he lived past this moment with Naruto. Where did you find it? Asked Jiraiya with Naruto smirking at him. At a grave site at the base of the tallest mountain within Whirlpool. An ancient grave site older than Whirlpool and all of the elemental countries as we know them. It was there I saw the spirit of the one who wielded this sword before me and was waiting for his successor to wield it, explained Naruto with Jiraiya looking from the sword to his godson. I see. It was said that the Uzumaki's clan was also descended from the Sage of Six Paths bloodline along with the Uchiha and Senju. That there was a third son, but while this man was of the sage's blood, the sage himself did not acknowledge him as one of his children for unknown reasons, and gave the rumored son for that bloodline absolutely nothing prior to his death. That the third son was considered an illegitimate one unlike that of his two other sons, and thus would not inherit anything from him. In an act of defiance while the two legitimate sons fought, the third illegitimate son took off with the sword of Jubai, and was even in possession of the fabled Rinnegan the Sage of Six Paths himself had achieved. That the two legitimate sons of the Sage of Six Paths tried to take such powers back from the third one, and they were nearly killed in the process. They united for one purpose, but were defeated badly in battle, yet spared on a mere whim, and were warned by their illegitimate brother to leave him alone. That they were to do what they wished, but to leave him out of their affairs, and never seek him out for the power that was his by right of blood from the father that denounced him. They both reluctantly agreed to his terms, and they never spoke to him ever again with the sword of Jubai becoming lost in the end, while the Uzumaki clan slowly rose with the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan, explained Jiraiya with Naruto smirking at him before putting the massive sword away in the extra-large sheath designed to hold it. My predecessor's name was Uzumaki Genshin. Unfortunately, he felt none of his own children or his grandchildren were worthy of wielding the sword of Jubai. He died with it in a secret burial spot at the base of the tallest mountain in Whirlpool. The man literally buried himself with the last of his strength to ensure no one would know where the sword lay as his grave marker. After what happened in Konoha, I barely survived the fall and made my way to Wave Country to lick my wounds. I had to think of a plan to get away since it was only a matter of time before you were there to bring me back. So I took a boat and headed for Whirlpool after old man Tazuna told me about the place that Wave Country itself had been a part of many years ago, explained Naruto with Jiraiya's eyes widening in understanding. So that is where he went, and the spirit he mentioned. Uzumaki Genshin, was it? Did that spirit teach him? Thought Jiraiya with Naruto turning around and walking away. It was there, Jiraiya. It was there I felt my Uzumaki blood become lit aflame and could hear the cries of my kin calling out for justice. Among those cries, one stood out above all others and followed the voice that led me to the base of the mountain where Genshin Sensei's grave was marked by this sword. His spirit stood before me and looked down to see the broken body that was the last of his bloodline. I could feel his spirit dig through my mind and see my memories from the life I lived in Konoha. I could feel his rage at how, after all this time, the Senju and the Uchiha still tried to take what did not belong to them when it came to power. While the Senju had relented in taking, they still were not beyond the means to manipulate things so they wouldn't need to, and just let the Uchiha make all the attempts for them before swooping down to pick up the pieces. It was at that moment the spirit of Uzumaki Genshin decreed he would train me in all of his skills, and power that he learned in his days of being a shinobi, continued Naruto before stopping and turning back to see Jiraiya slowly stand up. So you are more enemy than friend to Konoha, concluded Jiraiya with Naruto letting out a hollow chuckle. Foolish Sannin. I was always Konoha's enemy after the village betrayed me for the last time. Do not expect our next encounter to be so civil. Next time, I'll kill you, replied Naruto with Jiraiya glaring at him. Really? That's quite a threat, Jiraiya. Quite a good threat, actually. Still, the threat itself seems to lack something, I know, exclaimed Naruto before he was gone and in front of Jiraiya. Only this time, Jiraiya cried out in pain, as solid steel cut through flesh. The blood from underneath the flesh sprayed everywhere, and the Sannin was clutching his face in pain. Naruto's left arm was up at an arched position. The claws from the gauntlet it wore were glowing with crimson chakra thanks to Kyuubi. Before Jiraiya could even contemplate what had happened in this moment pain, Naruto followed with a solid hit with his knee to the Sannin's torso that sent the man doubling over onto his knees. What was that for? Asked Jiraiya while gripping his face with blood leaking between his fingers onto the ground. I thought it was obvious at this point. I'm giving you incentive to kill me the next time we meet. I'm giving Konoha, its shinobi, its civilians, the councils, and the clan heads incentive to kill me. Even your bitch of a Hokage whom you can only look at but never touch an incentive to kill me the next time we all meet again, explained Naruto before he was gone in a swirl of Kyuubi's crimson chakra. Could this day get any worse? Thought Jiraiya before he found himself surrounded by the Spring Daimyo's samurai on patrol of the area. Jiraiya of the Sannin, you are under arrest, said the samurai captain of the group before the others picked him up and escorting him to the palace where their ruler would decide his fate. Yep, it just got worse, thought Jiraiya while hoping the Leaf Shinobi with him were able to escape. Spring Daimyo's throne room. You have a lot of nerve to come here to my land Sannin. And with Konoha Shinobi no less when everyone knows they are banned from my country, said Kazuhana Kayuki with utter contempt for Jiraiya. And the Leaf Shinobi bound on their knees before her throne with chakra blocking devices on each of them, so they would be shocked if they tried to use any of the energy. The samurai around them were armed with their swords to further influence the shinobi on the ground to be compliant, while Jiraiya was in front of them since he was their leader after all. After what happened with Naruto being betrayed and nearly killed by Konoha, a massive anti-Konoha movement began throughout all of Spring Country when they heard their daimyo's hero had suffered. Kayuki had personally written a detailed 10-page letter to the Fire Daimyo expressing her rage at the hypocritical actions of Konoha's shinobi, the brave actions Naruto had done while in her country, and how she was cutting off all trade with Fire Country until justice was done. No mercy was to be shown to any Konoha shinobi that dared enter her lands for any reason, and would know of her displeasure of them being where they weren't welcome. Of course, the Fire Daimyo wrote back to her, pleading for the woman to reconsider what she was doing, but Kayuki wouldn't hear of it, and expressed her utter distaste for Fire Country when they met for negotiations. To further add insult to injury, she actually tore up the contract she had with Jiraiya to perform in his Ika Ika Paradise movie. Right in front of the Sannin. I assure you, Kayuki-sama, my intentions for being here in Spring Country were strictly professional, said Jiraiya with Kayuki narrowing her eyes at him with disgust. And the Konoha shinobi behind you? Asked Kayuki with Jiraiya laughing sheepishly like the fool he played to get people to feel pity for him. They're my bodyguards. Konoha has a lot of enemies after all, with many wanting to see me taken out to weaken the Leaf Village, and while I'm no pushover. You never can be too careful, answered Jiraiya with Kayuki still not removing that look of disgust from her regal face. And for several good reasons. One of which is close to my heart, and the hearts of nearly every other influential leader throughout the elemental countries, said Kayuki in an all-knowing voice that made Jiraiya laugh sheepishly again. Yeah, I guess that's true, Jiraiya conceded with Kayuki looking even angrier. Drop the act, Jiraiya. Naruto already warned me that you would play the fool in order to make yourself seem pathetic and pitiful in my eyes, that I might take pity on you and your shinobi bodyguards here with you. Well, I'm not going to take pity on you or your bodyguards here in the slightest. You can return to Konoha alone, Jiraiya, with what is left of your scarred face and wounded pride. Your bodyguards, on the other hand. They are to be put to death for trespassing on my lands, proclaimed Kayuki while making a hand motion to her samurai to escort all the shinobi out of her sight. Wait, you can't kill them. The loss of so many Jounin-level shinobi will weaken the Leaf considerably, exclaimed Jiraiya with Kayuki looking at him right in the eyes with a I don't care look. Then you shouldn't have brought so many Jounin-level shinobi to my shores. Take him away now, commanded Kayuki with her samurai obeying with all the Konoha shinobi. Commanding as ever I see Kayuki-chan, said Naruto after appearing from the shadows with a smile on his face, though it was hidden by the black cloth that covered all except his one eye. "I had a good teacher, Naruto-kun," replied Kyuki as she saw her country's champion walk up beside her, and he kissed her hand like a gentleman. "If I may, I would like to ask a request regarding those leaf shinobi," asked Naruto with Kyuki looking at him with a raised eyebrow. "Oh, what is the request?" asked Kyuki with Naruto smiling behind the black cloth. "I would like to be the one that executes them," answered Naruto with Kyuki thinking it over. "Why not? I don't see why you can't. Besides, I'm sure those leaf shinobi were among all those that hurt and demeaned you while growing up. I think it's fair you return the favor properly," replied Kyuki with Naruto once more kissing her hand. "You are as kind as you are wise and beautiful," said Naruto with Kyuki giggling. "Keep that up and you'll see just how kind I can be in bed tonight," said Kyuki with a seductive smile on her face while Naruto let out a chuckle. "I'm looking forward to it," replied Naruto before leaving for the shadows once more, and Kyuki sighed contently knowing how the man was when they were together. "Now if only I didn't have to share him with several other women. Oh well. If I didn't share him, then I'd be too sore to get out of bed in the morning or walk properly during the day," said Kyuki to herself with a smile on her face, since the young warrior did have the stamina women would kill for to have their man possess such energy. Konoha sometime later. "What happened, Jiraiya?" asked Tsune to see the Sannin had returned to Konoha after the beating from the samurai was bloodied from the hard hitters, and she saw the scarred face he was now sporting. "The good news is I made contact with Naruto. Bad news. He basically told me that you should shove the offer I was to convey to him up your ass," answered Jiraiya while he was wincing slightly due to the injury that Tsune had moved to heal, but found it was not healing at all and seemed to glow crimson red when she tried. "I trust those were his words and not yours?" questioned Tsunade with Jiraiya making a noise that told her that was his way of phrasing it in a nutshell. "No, but that's what Naruto basically thought of it before he did this to my face moments before leaving," answered Jiraiya while seeing Tsunade frown at the failing attempt to heal him. "So the brat was in spring country like we thought," replied Tsunade with a growl soon following. "Oh yeah, he was there all right, and trust me, Tsunade, he's no longer a mere brat." "Not anymore," answered Jiraiya before explaining what happened with Naruto's speed being beyond his own and the sword of Jubai or Archfiend, as it was sometimes called among the ancient sword legends. "Damn him!" exclaimed Tsunade as she blamed Naruto for many things in her life and the greatness of Konoha being one of them. Destruction of Konoha during Kyubai's attack. Kushina's death during the pregnancy that caused the fox to get free, forcing her sensei back out of retirement in the aftermath. She even blamed Naruto for the Uchiha massacre since the Uchiha were planning a coup to take control of Konoha because so many people distrusted them for their connection to Kyuubi via the Sharingan eyes that were the clan bloodline. Even the Sandame's own death she blamed on Naruto for being elsewhere when he was needed in Konoha to defend it rather than fight another weakened Jinchuriki outside of its walls that several other shinobi were chasing could handle. "Hokage-sama?" asked Shizune walking into the office to see Tsunade trying to heal Jiraiya's face and apparently not succeeding. "What?" asked Tsunade harshly while finding her skills in healing were being repelled from healing the scars that were meant to be a permanent mark on Jiraiya's face. "There is a large box here addressed to you, from the Spring Daimyo herself," answered Shizune uneasily with two Chunin carrying the box into the room. "Open it," ordered Tsunade with the Chunin opening the box and stepped back with Tsunade seeing the contents in it before letting out a cry of outrage. The contents of the box. All the heads of every Jounin level Konoha shinobi who went with Jiraiya to Spring Country. And a note, "Hello, you old bitch. It's been a long time since that day 4 years ago. I was hoping you would leave me alone, but that was too much to hope for when you sent the pervert to find me, and convey your so-called offer in return for my help fending off this new enemy you've pissed off. Did you really expect me to say yes to your pathetic little offer upon my return? That I would return to Konoha like some blind, deaf, and dumb kid you thought I was when we first met? It's clear you're the dumb one between us if you believed I'd come back like some humble pet. You, Jiraiya, the clan heads, and just about everyone else in Konoha betrayed me that day. Now you're all alone and in danger of being wiped out by your enemies without any help from anyone around you. It must be hurting the village knowing they have to fight off so many enemies with no support from anyone in the 4 years since that day you backstabbed me. Welcome to my old world I've lived in for 12 years of my life and your new hell. Signed to your dissatisfaction. Uzumaki Naruto. P.S. In case you haven't figured it out by now, I was the one that killed them all. Every single leaf shinobi in that box died with shock and horror on their faces. They died like cowards begging me to show them mercy and saying other apologetic crap they didn't mean. I just thought you should know. Damn you, Naruto! Yelled Tsunade as she tore up his letter and slammed her fist on the Hokkage's death beside her. It's just one bad thing after another, thought Jirya, as he looked at the faces of each Konoha shinobi in the box, and indeed saw the horror that was on them. At a secret location. We are in agreement. You all believe the time for attacking Konoha is at hand. Asked the leader of the group sitting in front of him. He was the Shogun of Shadows. We do, Shogun-sama, answered a female voice clearly ready for war. Will this be a problem for you, my red-eyed weasel? I know how you feel when it comes certain things regarding Konoha, asked the Shogun of Shadows with the man to his right shaking his head. I have tried to do everything in my power to protect Konoha. To protect the salvation of my clan, I destroyed with the fruits of my labor being poisoned beyond repair. There's only one true path that stands before me now, and I will do what I must when walking it, answered the figure with the Shogun nodding. How soon before Akatsuki is completely destroyed from within? Asked the Shogun with Itachi looking over something in front of him. Soon. Our two key players in its liquidation aside from myself are in position, but Tobai's patience with the organization's fumbling and failure to capture all the Jinchuriki is running thin. We should step up our timetable a bit and ensure nothing is left of the organization to rebuild from, answered the figure with the Shogun nodding. The statue, asked the Shogun knowing it was the key to holding the Biju. A few dozen explosive tags and its key structural points should destroy it completely. The three-tailed Biju was sealed in there after the past Mizuki's death once it manifested a year ago. Once the statue is destroyed, the Biju shouldn't reappear again for another 3 years and will once more manifest in the water, explained the now former agent of the Akatsuki. That's fine. Let the Biju live as it wants once it manifests. How goes things in Iwa and Kumo? How are they right now? Asked the Shogun with the sound of papers being shuffled around him. Both itching for a fight with Konoha. However, Iwa isn't being as cooperative like we hoped, and are planning to attack without your consent, Shogun-sama, answered a gruff man with his red beard shimmering in the candle light. No doubt they are doing it to me out of spite for taking you and Han away from Iwa on account. I didn't tolerate them treating either of you like mindless weapons Roshi, replied the Shogun of Shadows, with the figure that was Roshi from Iwa nodding. That and you beat the Sandame Tsuchikage within an inch of his life when he tried to stop you from taking us away from Iwa, Roshi added with the Shogun nodding. Fortunately, his granddaughter was able to take over for him temporarily and agreed to let the two of you come with me. Now it seems the Sandame Tsuchikage has decided to stop waiting for us to make our move. For someone notoriously called the fence-sitter, he is not living up to his reputation, and I suspect it's because old wounds opened up does that to people, replied the Shogun with many among his council nodding. Kumo is on board. All they want is at least one Hyuga, replied the female voice from before when this meeting started, and the Shogun saw her cat-like eyes glow. And the Raikage will have one. I am a man of my word. All I ask in return is that the Hyuga he gets is not be the one I want, replied the Shogun with the woman nodding since that was the deal made between them. I'll remind him of that fact, Shogun-sama, said the woman simply. Thank you. Also, there is one final piece of business regarding Orochimaru, replied the Shogun with the others nodding. He's still up and about while surviving like the common parasite we all know him to be in life, said a red-haired, bespectacled woman. Has anyone attempted to make contact with him? Asked the Shogun with the red-haired woman nodding. Konoha sent a message to him asking for his assistance against you. They are promising him full immunity for all past crimes and a chance to continue his experiments in Konoha provided they are all inmates at the prison, explained the woman while the Shogun let out a growl. Hypocrites, all of them. Let the Sannin head for Konoha. We'll gut every single one of his bases before he's halfway there, answered the Shogun with everyone nodding. And Iwa and their growing impatience. Asked Roshi with the Shogun being silent for a moment. We'll deal with Iwa soon once the Akatsuki is no more. Nagato and Konan will see to it that the Tsuchikage is humbled, answered the Shogun with the group nodding. With the meeting over, the shadow forms of the Shogun's trusted members of his council left, and now only the Shogun himself remained. Basking in the darkness for a moment longer, he soon left it before walking to his private quarters of his base and looked over the map that was his vision of the future. All the daimyos, with the exception of a few good ones, were weak and fearful men who couldn't control their own countries like they were supposed to while ruling over their respectful territories. For too long now, the world had been divided, scattered, and without a leader capable of uniting the people together. That was what the Shogun of Shadows saw when looking at the current map of the world and comparing it to his vision laying next to it. He ran a hand over his vision, his eyes closing, and imagined the dawn of his rule rising from the ashes of the old one. He had supporters in position on all key points when this happened, and each one waiting for him to give the signal to make their moves that together would bring about a worldwide change in the landscape of how it was ruled. The time of the daimyos answering to no one but themselves for their actions was now coming to an end. Now was the beginning of the era of the shogun. Naruto panted heavily as he dragged Sasuke behind him with what strength was left in his body while dealing with the wound to his chest caused by the Chidori, and the crick in his neck from the piled driver to the rock floor at the Valley of the End. Being a Jinchuriki was an advantage at certain points when it came to life-threatening injuries like his, and had to give the fox props for healing him. Even if Kyuubi hated it, Naruto had a feeling the Biju was pleased to have knocked the Uchiha down a notch from his pedestal the leaf had put him on. Trust me, Sasuke, it's better if you stay here in Konoha. That Orochimaru guy screams out bad news in every shape and form, said Naruto while dragging Sasuke behind him through Konoha's gate before dropping to his knees and gasping for. Almost immediately, Leaf Shinobi appeared before taking Sasuke away for immediate medical attention. But what bothered Naruto was no one came to help him when he was in far worse condition, and most of the blood on Sasuke wasn't Uchiha blood. Shrugging it off for now, Naruto made his way to his apartment since doctors and nurses at the hospital tend to ignore him no matter what his current state of health was when growing up. The blonde had learned long ago at a young age to patch himself up long enough to hold out for the fox to do his thing and heal his injuries. Less than 15 minutes into being healed enough to walk with a minimum amount of pain, an ANBU was at the door, and Naruto could sense the man was one of those that hated his guts. It was the way he stood, the aura the ANBU gave off, and of course the twitch of the hand by his kunai holster being a dead giveaway. "The Hokage wishes to speak with you, brat," said the ANBU with a hint of anger in his voice. "When?" asked Naruto with the ANBU growling slightly. "Now," answered the ANBU before leaving with Naruto grumbling. "Jerk," said Naruto to himself before heading out to see the Hokage and hoped it was good news for once. Hokage Tower. "You little shit, you went against MY orders," yelled Tsunade as she threw a paperweight at him and Naruto barely dodged. "What the hell are you talking about, Granny? You authorized the use of force if Sasuke resisted, and guess what? He resisted," answered Naruto with Tsunade now trying to smash him to pieces with her fists. "And that gives you the right to use Kyuubi's power. You were told by Jiraiya to hold back from using its chakra in order for the Shinigami seal to remain as strong as humanly possible," exclaimed Tsunade before landing a blow to the boy's head and sent him flying into the wall. "And let him kill me. He was using that curse seal of his when I was holding back, and then up the power when I used Kyuubi's chakra to defend myself from his intention of killing me," countered Naruto, but Tsunade was far gone in listening to him, as she just grabbed him and struck him with her fists repeatedly. "Until I summon you to face my judgment for your transgressions against the Uchiha, you will be under house arrest in your apartment. You will be under the watch of the ANBU, and if you so much step out of that door just to investigate a noise, they will kill you," ordered Tsunade with Naruto smiling at her while blood left his mouth. "So you're one of them, huh? You hate me for holding the Kyuubi just like they do. I thought you would be different from them after all I've done for you. Saving your life from Kabuto, getting over your fear of blood, and winning that bet that inspired you to become the next Hokage. Instead, you're just another Uchiha-loving, Kyuubi-hating hypocrite," replied Naruto before spitting blood in her face with the shock of the move making Tsunade let go of him, and the Uzumaki leaped out the window without saying another word. "Jiraiya!" exclaimed Tsunade angrily with Jiraiya appearing via the same window Naruto left in moments ago. "That didn't go very well," commented the Sannin while Tsunade wiped the blood off of his face. "That brat dares spit his own blood at me. He's lucky I don't order his death right now. No, that would be too merciful. After what he's done, I want him to suffer, and to suffer dearly for his transgressions," replied Tsunade while sitting down in her chair and saw the man awaiting orders. "What do you have in mind?" asked Jiraiya with Tsunade narrowing her eyes in thought. "Seal up his chakra, all of it. I want him to be powerless. After that, you will send him to the maximum security cells of our prison," commanded Tsunade with a knowing look in her eyes while Jiraiya nodded in understanding. "They'll rip him apart," replied Jiraiya, though it was clear Tsunade didn't care, and to be honest, neither did he for that matter. The boy deserves no less. He robbed me of Kushina the night of his birth, and he robbed you of Minato on that same night. Sensei was forced back into office instead of retiring like he deserved after a year of loyal service to the people. And now the Uchiha is back, but in the hospital, and having his wounds addressed by Shizune while I deal with him. Exclaimed Tsunade with Jirya nodding. When do you want me to do this, and how long is he going to be locked away? Asked Jirya with Tsunade looking at him like she wished fire could shoot from her eyes. Tomorrow morning, get him while he's asleep. As for how long, will be for the rest of his days, answered Tsunade with Jirya nodding. Good. It gives me time to prepare the proper sealing arrangements to seal off Naruto's chakra and Kyuubi's too should he try to call upon it. Not to mention, I have to remove him from the Toad's summoning contract just in case he tries to call on them for help, said Jirya before he left via the window, unknown to either of them. A little bird was on the edge of the window chirping before it flew away and then went poof. In mid-flight with Naruto. Naruto felt the memories of the shadow clone reach him, and was glad he had it under the henge of a simple bird native to Konoha, so it wouldn't be surprising to be seen. Any bird native to any village would always by some mere chance land on the windowsill of a cage's office. Since neither Tsunade nor Jirya suspected the bird to be anything but a simple bird, Naruto could hear their entire conversation with his shadow clone and get the memory of what was said in her office. Sadly, what they were talking about brought about Naruto's worst fears, and realized that Jirya was in on this too. The Sannin had betrayed him just as Tsunade did, and Naruto was sure this was only the beginning since the councils were going to bitch too. He didn't know how the clan heads would feel, but none of them ever gave him a real fair shake of things, and Naruto wasn't going to hold his breath hoping for the best. No, he was going to prepare for the worst. So that's their plan, huh? Strip me of my chakra and the foxes before throwing my ass into a prison filled with depraved psychos until I'm dead or wish I was. Well, fuck them. Fuck this village and its people. Konoha's civilians and shinobi alike can kiss my ass. Exclaimed Naruto angrily with the fox in his gut growling in agreement. They are unworthy of your loyalty, Kit. You pushed yourself to bring back the Uchiha alive despite your opponent's lack of restraint on the matter. And this is the reward you get, from your godparents no less. Replied Kyuubi with Naruto stiffening at hearing this news. Kyuubi, how are you speaking to me? Why, and what do you mean godparents? Are you saying those two were supposed to take care of me? Thought Naruto while the fox made an image of itself appear in front of the boy. But since Kyuubi was sealed inside of the Uzumaki, only Naruto could see and hear him like this. It's not surprising you don't know. It was during the few days following your birth with many calling for your death once word got out of you being my new vessel. The perverted toad Sannin came to visit you in your crib, and trust me, he did not look happy to see you. I could tell he was using all his willpower to not kill you at that moment simply because you were more than just my vessel. Not to mention, he also knew that your death at the time would free me, and I'd get to have my revenge on Konoha for sealing me away twice over. Anyway, I heard him talking about how he hoped your life would be miserable in Konoha, and denounced you as his godson while Tsunade did the same. It's why she didn't stay in the village after hearing of your mother's death. She denounced you as her godson and her responsibilities to you as your godmother while heading off to drink, gamble, or do both outside of the village. Explained Kyuubi with Naruto starting to breathe heavier at a sinking feeling currently growing in the back of his mind. You mentioned my mother. Who was she? Who was my dad? Tell me, please. Thought Naruto while Kyuubi just looked at him for a moment while contemplating the idea of giving the boy an answer. Your mother was my previous vessel and with much stronger seal. I only got out that night because she was giving birth you. The seals on female Jinchuriki weaken when they are pregnant. The stress damages the seal and your father. Your father was there to ensure I didn't get out. Sadly for them, things didn't go as planned, replied Kyuubi with Naruto's hands becoming fists. What happened? Thought Naruto while seeing Kyuubi looking calm for once without the hatred or disgust the great Biju usually had from their rare few times in each other's presence. A man who proclaimed himself to be Uchiha Madara happened. Whether he is the real deal or not, I don't know. But he broke through the barrier your mother was under during the pregnancy, held you hostage with explosive tags all over your 1-minute-old body, and got your father away from her before returning to rip me out. He used his Sharingan eyes to make me go berserk and attack the village. The rest, as they say, Kit, is history. Explained Kyuubi with Naruto shaking now at this news. And my father. You mentioned him and my mother, but you never said their names. What were their names? Thought Naruto with the fox now looking hesitant to say their names. Your mother's name is Uzumaki Kushina. She was born in Whirlpool but came here before its destruction in the Second Shinobi War and was a strong kunoichi for her age. As for your father, he was the Yondaime Hokage, the man who sealed me into you and the one every shinobi loves in Konoha loves, answered Kyuubi with Naruto looking pissed off and almost foaming at the mouth with rage. They love my father for sealing you into my body but hate my guts at the same time. Where is the fucking justice in that? Naruto exclaimed out loud and not caring if the ANBU outside his room heard him talking. Sadly, there is none, Kit. Not yet. We must get away from Konoha if we are going to have any kind of chance at survival. We must leave now, exclaimed Kyuubi with Naruto nodding while knowing his body still wasn't at full health due to Sasuke's stupid Chidori and then Tsunade's fists smashing into him moments ago. It was a miracle he could get to his apartment without collapsing. Took the words right out of my mouth, Fox. I don't suppose you could up the regeneration and healing ability you're giving my body. If I'm going to have a snowball's chance in hell of getting out of the village, I need to be at peak performance and ready to do some crazy shit to get away, thought Naruto with the fox grinning at him. Consider it done, Kit. You pack what you need and I'll heal you up faster so there is no excuse in the event things go south on us, answered Kyuubi with Naruto frowning at his words. I won't fail, Fox. That's not my nature when it comes to my survival, thought Naruto with the fox grinning more. I know, Kit. You're a lot like me in that regard. When it comes to survival, a wounded or cornered fox is far more dangerous than the most dangerous jackal. Right now we are injured and cornered, so if you do go down, take every single shinobi down with you, said Kyuubi with Naruto smirking at the image of the fox only he could see before the image vanished. We'll do, Fox. We'll do, thought Naruto before getting what he needed and decided to start off his little escape attempt off with a bang. First, he looked at the Team 7 photo taken after they were declared a genin team before smashing the picture onto the ground and rubbing his sandaled foot on it. Next, he took of his headband given to him by Uruka, who had at one point hated the Kyuubi Jinchuriki at one point, but stopped to actually look at Naruto to see Naruto. Now though, Naruto didn't know what to believe anymore, if Tsunade and Jiraiya were hating him all this time like Kakashi did. What were the odds Uruka still hated him too? The odds were too high and not in Naruto's favor. Shaking his head, Naruto crushed the headband knowing his action would symbolize not only the ending of his loyalty to Konoha, but an end to being the naive and hopeful boy that believed the people would change. That they would stop seeing him as the Kyuubi and see him as a leaf shinobi named Uzumaki Naruto. No, those days were over. Every moment he stayed in Konoha with these bigots was an insult to his honor, his life, and his continued existence in the world. Throwing the destroyed headband onto the ground, the Uzumaki took out an explosive tag he had well. Ah, screw it. He stole the damn thing from the weapon shop that refused to sell him anything and decided to take what they wouldn't sell. Once placed on the pillow on his bed, he made sure some stuff was under the bed sheets with some hay used from his piece of crap mattress being used for blonde hair. Jiraiya was going to come in the morning to take him away to get his chakra sealed off, but what the old fool was going to get was a rude awakening of his own, and it was going to be a well-deserved one to that old bastard. The boy smirked at the thought of Jiraiya coming into his home, thinking this would be easy, and then bang. Barbecued Sannin. With his trap set, Naruto decided it was time to get the hell out of Konoha, and he had the perfect way to do it too. In the event of invaders that came into his home to break stuff, decided to break him with their blunt or point weapons, Naruto had made a trapdoor under his bed for an instant escape before anyone could get to the bedroom, and made a direct tunnel out of Konoha. The downside. It was a long-ass tunnel and would take him the rest of the day and night to get outside of Konoha's walls without being detected by the shinobi patrolling outside. Meaning he had maybe a half a day, if not a tiny bit more, by a few measly hours before Konoha dispatched every hunter nin and Konoha shinobi in the village to hunt him down. So what the fuck was doing standing around here for? The next morning, Jiraiya made his way into Naruto's apartment. Not surprised the boy was the only tenant in the building since having the Kyuubi Jinchuriki living here kind of brings down its value. The Sannin made his way to the boy's room, which was on the top floor, and opened it without any locks barring him from entering. Not surprising since the sides around the door looked like it had been replaced multiple times from vandals kicking it down. Not that Jiraiya cared if they did or not. It wouldn't matter since the boy was no longer going to be a resident here, and the value would go up again. Something the Sannin would have to tell the landlord about once he was done taking care of Naruto. Time to remove the fox permanently from his den, thought Jirya, as he saw the lump on the bed with the blonde hair looking a little untidy, but ignored that and pulled the bed sheets off the boy viciously in the hopes it would disorient him before subduing the brat. What he got was a bed full of crap, straw from the mattress being mistaken for blonde bed hair, and an explosive tag set on proximity sensor becoming active. Taking a step back in shock, Jirya's foot broke something underneath it to find the picture of Team 7, and from the looks of things it had been stepped on. Next to it was the destroyed Konoha headband the Sannin knew the Chunin Uruka gave to Naruto as proof of his graduation. It was then Jirya knew he only had moments to act before this place got blown up to high hell, and him with it if he didn't get out of there. Acting quickly, the Sannin leaped out of the nearby window seconds before the explosion tore through the entire building, and rolled with the landing before stopping inches from hitting the wall of the house next door. It didn't take long for the Hawkage and several of her ANBU to arrive at the scene with eyes that old Jirya that she wanted to know what happened. After the Sannin explained the situation, Tsunade ordered every available hunter Nin, ANBU, Jounin, and Chunin to look for Naruto before bringing him back. How badly beaten was to their discretion, and the use of lethal force was authorized. Bring him back. I want him brought before me in chain with his body and spirit broken. I want him to look at me with eyes of defeat. Gyo, commanded Tsunade with the leaf shinobi around her nodding before the scattered. He couldn't have gotten that far. I'll help in the search too, said Jirya before he took off to find Naruto while Tsunade seethed at the sight of the destroyed building in front of her. The picture of Team 7 was floating down at her feet while being partially lit aflame before the fire slowly devoured it into nothing. If Tsunade didn't know any better, she would have thought that to be a bad omen for herself and the rest of Konoha. She probably would have thought it too if her eyes looked to her right and saw the destroyed headband looking obliterated in its current state, with the fire burning the metal into a melted slab. With Naruto. Damn, I need to hurry. I don't even have as much time as I first thought I would at the beginning of this plan, said Naruto to himself before making hundreds upon hundreds of shadow clones and having them scatter all over the place to confuse his pursuers. Head north, Kit. Wave Country is filled with people who actually like you, suggested Kyuubi with the blonde nodding and quickening his pace. Unfortunately, the vast number of his shadow clones were dropping rapidly, and all their memories of how they died began to flood his mind. Struggling to focus, the blonde soon found himself being pursued by a masked Konoha shinobi, though it was clear the man wasn't ANBU, but rather someone borrowing one of their masks and didn't want his face to be seen. There was also something very familiar about this man, something he couldn't place just yet and wondered why. Looks like I found the real you, said the masked leaf shinobi while Naruto glared at him. What do you want? A prize? Asked Naruto sarcastically, knowing he needed to get out of here, and kept on running despite the pursuit. Yeah, your head, answered the masked shinobi with a katana drawn and moved to take something off of Naruto's body. Naruto dodged the sword strikes, but just barely since he still wasn't in top shape despite the fox's chakra fixing up the damage. And the Kyuubi told him the Yondaime seal was meant to hold a lot of his power back to prevent possible possession. So whatever Kyuubi could do to heal his body was all Naruto could get, and had to deal with it until they had time to take a breather. If they got that chance, of course. The chase must have lasted for well over 15 minutes before Naruto found himself at a large cliffside with no place go. Leaping down would be suicide, and the Uzumaki had doubts even Kyuubi could heal him in the event of his fall down the jagged rock edge. Looking from the cliff to the masked shinobi clearly trying to hide his identity from him, Naruto looked at the fake ANBU and beckoned the man to attack. If Uzumaki Naruto was going down, he was going to make sure this guy was among the first to die, and die painfully before the others arrived. Kyuubi, what are the chances we'd survive the fall below if we jumped, or something made us get thrown off the side of this cliff? Thought Naruto with Kyuubi thinking for a moment. Let me put it this way, if you decided to jump, make sure it's the only course open to you. Oh, and warn me before you do it, answered Kyuubi with Naruto nodding, since the fox would need some time to gather chakra to flood the boy's body for healing it. Unfortunately, that conversation with the fox cost him, as the masked Konoha shinobi saw this moment to strike, and the Uzumaki took a quick step back to avoid the sword aiming to take his head off. Unfortunately, Naruto moved a second too late in terms of getting away unscathed, as the sword was coming at him from an angle he could fully dodge, and felt the blade of the sword slice into his flesh up through right eye. Normally, Naruto wouldn't have to worry about such an injury since Kyuubi could heal it in time. But the Shademe's necklace given to him by Tsunade after winning their bet had been struck with the blade, and its tiny shards entering the wound around his eye. The jewel itself had the power to suppress Ibiju's chakra in combination of someone with the power to suppress Ibiju like the Shadame himself. It also worked if someone sent a high level of chakra into the jewel to awaken its properties, and unfortunately for Naruto at the moment, he was unknowingly doing just that. Clutching his face, feeling the blood flowing from his wound, Naruto glared at the leaf shinobi while reaching for a kunai with his free hand, and just in time to block another sword strike. The blonde could tell the man behind the mask was pleased to see he had injured the so-called Kyuubi brat in such a way, and no doubt figured the injury he had delivered would get him a big fat reward from the Hokage. Snarling at the man, Naruto dodged and blocked several more attempts before closing his injured eye to use his bloody-covered hand to grab the wrist of the weapon-holding arm of the enemy before breaking it at the wrist. The man cried out briefly in pain with the sword falling to the ground, and Naruto channeled Kyuubi's chakra into his kunai holding hand before stabbing the man in the gut while twisting the kunai hard, while the Konoha shinobi cried out in pain. Naruto took a bit of satisfaction in that, as the kunai was coated in Kyuubi's chakra so it would leave a permanent mark on the fool if he survived with no amount of medical prowess from Tsunade could fix. Hurts, doesn't it? It's not nice to have someone stabbing you in the gut. To have to look at your attacker while he does it and see his smile with eyes that gleam at you with a sense of victory, with a sense of pride in his work at hurting someone that didn't deserve to be hurt. The only difference between us in that situation is you deserved this along with the rest of the Leaf Shinobi and Konoha. People like you are the reason I wasn't able to have a happy life. You all spit on my name, the name of my parents, and their reason for sealing the fox into my gut. They wanted me to be seen as a hero of the village. All the while you and everyone else like you dishonored them, every day the village made me suffer for something that wasn't my fault. Exclaimed Naruto angrily to his enemy before he heard a whistling sound of a projectile coming his way, and leaped back to the edge of the cliff, while his enemy moved in the opposite direction. Both shinobi looked at the ground to see kunai with an explosive tag hissing loudly with the explosion that was about to happen being imminent. Naruto looked up to where the object had come from, and saw one Hatake Kakashi in the trees with his Sharingan eye exposed. "This is for Minato-sensei," said Kakashi with Naruto spitting on the ground in front of him at his proclamation. "Fuck you, hypocrite." Naruto shot back before leaping off the cliff a mere second before the explosive tag went off and the Uzumaki fell downward towards his doom. "You think he survived that?" asked the masked shinobi before looking at Kakashi, who walked to the new cliff edge and looked down below with his Sharingan eye spinning. "Hard to say. Kyuubi's chakra is there, but it's faint like it gave out recently, and yet it's masking everything like a blanket so I can't get a fix on the brat's chakra signature. Still, I doubt he's alive, but we'll make sure just to be safe, and go around to find a safe way to down there to search." "You head back to Konoha to get your wound treated before it gets serious," replied Kakashi with the masking Konoha shinobi shaking his head. "No, I need to do this. This chapter in my life needs to be shut forever and I need the closure," answered the masked Konoha shinobi with Kakashi looking at him for a few seconds before pulling his headband down to conserve chakra. "All right, it's your life, but I expect you to get that wound treated when we get back, or head back if it becomes too much to handle," replied Kakashi with the masked Konoha shinobi nodding. "I can take it. My family would want me to endure this for them," replied the man behind the mask, and the two headed back the way they came to find a path capable of getting them to go down below. With Naruto. Naruto coughed up blood, his body racked with pain, as he struggled to get away from the hillside he had fallen down and smacked against several times. His body no doubt had many broken bones, mostly along his ribs, one of his legs, if not both of them, and one of his arms was completely shot in terms of movement. His face was slightly messed up, and mangled though that part of him was starting heal with the exception of his eye. He was beaten up, bloody, and losing lots of the latter in the process with each painful step his broken body was taking. "Don't you dare quit on me, boy. Move it. I will not allow you, and by extension me, to die here knowing that the 3 remaining Uchiha in this world outlivedus," exclaimed Kyuubi inside Naruto's head while using his chakra to combat the damn seal that held him back so it would work on the brat's body and healing him. "What do you think I'm doing, fur ball? Sitting on my ass? My body is messed up. By all rights to all things in the universe, I should be dead. thought Naruto furiously while the fox grinned at him. True, by all rights you should be dead, but you are not, whether because you are too stubborn to die or by my power helping. I do not know. What I do know is that you now have a chance at surviving, and we're going to milk it for all it's worth, replied Kyuubi with Naruto grinning slightly despite the pain he was feeling. Wave country, here comes Uzumaki Naruto. Hawkage Tower sometime later. What do you mean you lost him? I wanted that brat brought back alive. Tsunade said with anger and displeasure clear in her tone of voice. He was giving me trouble and Kakashi threw a kunai with an explosive tag on it at the edge of the cliff. The Kyuubi brat jumped off the cliff moments before the explosion and fell downward into the forest region below, explained the injured masked shinobi before her being healed by the Hawkage. The idea was for the dumb monster to leap away from the cliff, but not in the manner that he did it, and I was hoping to make him think twice about being on the cliff edge, explained Kakashi. But he flinched when Tsunade glared at him and resumed her work on healing the Jounin's partner in this. Well, the brat never was one to think the way we do or act like we hoped he would for that matter. The fact you didn't find a body means he is still alive. I'd have Jiraiya reverse summon him, but the stupid pervert already removed Naruto from the Toad summoning contract, and it's now impossible to bring him back that way, explained Tsunade with Kakashi letting out a sigh. There was a blood trail, but it ended when we got to the beach where it leads right into the water. In the condition he was in, I doubt the brat swam so a boat is the only answer, and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki could have gone anywhere after getting out to sea, answered Kakashi, seeing the Hawkage was even angrier by that. Put him in the bingo book. Put a bounty on him with the order to be brought back to us alive. Whether it is in One Piece is optional, commanded Tsunade with Kakashi nodding and leaving the room. He'll be found, Hawkage-sama. I promise you he will be found, said the masked Konoha shinobi while Tsunade continued to heal his wound. I know he will. As for you, this wound the brat hit you with can be closed, but there will be a scar and constantly give you grief, explained Tsunade with the man nodding. Everything about that Kyuubi brat has given me grief. Why should this scar he's given me be any different? Said the man before leaving the room once the Hawkage finished. We have a problem, said Jiraiya after entering via the window. No shit, the brat got away and is out to sea, answered Tsunade with Jiraiya shaking his head. No, that's not it. The Suna siblings are demanding an answer to the growing rumor of Naruto being arrested for completing the mission to bring back the Uchiha, explained Jiraiya with the Hawkage seething at him. Tell them to get the hell out of Konoha. I don't care if it hampers our new alliance. I'm not going to deal with them right now, answered Tsunade with Jiraiya nodding. If Naruto gets to an area he helped and tells what we tried to do, said Jiraiya with the implication of what could happen hanging in the air. He's badly injured in a boat at the mercy of the sea with no food or fresh water to keep him alive. All the brat has is Kyuubi, and even that monster won't sustain him forever. He may have luck, but not even Naruto's luck can save him now. That boy is going to die a slow, agonizing death, and I only regret not being there every step of the way to see him die, answered Tsunade with Jiraiya looking at her with impassive eyes. The other places Naruto helped out will want answers too, and the village isn't exactly keeping quiet about him running off, explained Jiraiya with Tsunade growling at this new annoyance. We'll lie for as long as possible, and then lie some more when we apologize for the lie, replied Tsunade with Jiraiya nodding in agreement. Works for me, answered Jiraiya before left via the window again. Rot in hell, Gaki, for this time when betting on your life, I win, thought Tsunade with a victorious smirk on her face, knowing she had finally won, and this time. She did not fear any of the future consequences that would come her way like they normally did when winning a gamble. What terrible thing could the world throw at her now? In the Senju clan home, every single picture frame holding the physical memories of Uzumaki Mito, Uzumaki Kushina, and any other picture with an Uzumaki in it that the home possessed, violently shattered. With Naruto 2 days later. His boat hit beach. Not fire country shores, but that of foreign soil, and the Uzumaki knew from past experience that this soil belonged to those in wave. The smell in the air was unmistakable to him, as he had it committed the watery scent of this country to his memories, and fell off the boat while thanking the fox for closing most of his wounds, so the salt water wouldn't be too painful on the ones that were still there. Looking around, Naruto saw Lady Lucky was indeed throwing him a bone, and found himself parked out right by old man Tazuna's house. Struggling on his hands and knees, the blonde crawled to the doorstep of the family that he protected from the tyrant Gato, and even to an extent Mamachi Zabuza, whom the short-in-height fool hired to do the job for him. Reaching the door, Naruto knocked on it with what strength he had left before collapsing on the ground, and barely heard the gasp of the woman who answered. For as the woman called his name, Naruto fell into darkness and barely saw the form of the boy who believed heroes still existed in the world. Sometime later, Naruto awoke to find himself in a comfortable bed, much better than the piece of crap he had in his old, now-destroyed apartment. Sitting up on the bed, Naruto looked around to find himself in an undershirt and boxers that were not his own. Ignoring that for now, the blonde slowly got out of bed, wincing at his still sore body, and made his way downstairs where the rest of the family was eating breakfast. "Naruto!" exclaimed Tsunami as she saw him walk down the steps and quickly moved to help the boy to the closest chair for him to sit. "Damn kid. You look worse than my hangovers put together," replied Tazuna with Inari looking at his surrogate big brother with worry. "What happened? When we found you on our doorstep, you looked, well, practically half dead," exclaimed Inari with his mother shooting him a scolding look. "Inari, don't say such things," replied Tsunami in a tone that told her son to watch what he said in front of their guest. "It's all right, Tsunami-san. Inari wasn't that far off. I was half dead. I was out at sea for 2 days with no food, water, and my body was already had in rough shape. Somebody high up must either love me or has a sick sense of humor," answered Naruto while he looked at the old man, then Inari, and finally Tsunami heading over to the kitchen area to get him some food. "How did that happen?" asked Tazuna with Naruto looking uncomfortable in answering. "Dad, don't ask him if he's not ready for it. Oh, I almost forgot, Naruto-kun, your clothes won't be ready for wearing until later. I need to wash and sew them up. Though to be honest, a boy such as yourself should probably wear something more than just orange all the time," replied Tsunami with Tazuna smirking while he drank his coffee. "That kid is no kid, my dear. Not from what I saw in that department when I had to put the shirt and underwear on him. Seriously, does the kid have a regal horse in his ancestry or something? No kid should be that endowed," thought Tazuna while trying to prevent himself from imagining what his daughter would done if she had been the one to change the gaki. He'd be preparing for becoming a grandfather a second time, and Inari would be getting ready for a little brother. That is what would be happening. "That's all right. I don't want to wear them anymore. They are clothes from my old life in Konoha, and I have a few other articles of clothing my size I can wear that aren't so, well, fashionably bad to the human eye," answered Naruto, while Tazuna had a chibi version of himself dancing around with booze in hand at hearing this wonderful news. "Old life?" asked Inari with Naruto sighing. "Yeah, you know my teammate Uchiha Sasuke, right? The one with dark hair that's the shape like a duck's butt. He's brooding all the time and cares for nothing except himself," asked Naruto with Tazuna letting out a grunt. "I remember him." "Kid was full of himself," answered Tazuna with Naruto nodding. "Well, he decided to betray Konoha for power offered by another former Leaf Shinobi named Orochimaru of the Sannin. Real nasty guy who did horrible things to people, which was why he went rogue, and not someone you should leave Inari with. Anyway, I was on the team ordered to retrieve the jerk before he got over the border of Fire Country into Rice Country, and where Orochimaru would be waiting for him. We met with some resistance in the form of the Sannin's personal bodyguards, and trust me when I say they were strong. We ran a gauntlet trying to catch up to Sasuke with it coming down to a one-on-one fight between me and him. The team was authorized to use force if it came down to it, but we were not allowed to kill him, so I held back, and Sasuke, well, he didn't," answered Naruto with gasps from Tsunami and shocked looks on the other 2 members of her family. "He actually tried to kill you?" asked Tazuna with Naruto nodding. "He did more than try, all right, nearly succeeded, used an assassination jutsu on me that went into my heart. Another time he did a pile drive on me from on high off a cliff onto solid rock, below in a ravine we were fighting over. Damn near broke my neck that time, but my special ability I've had since I was a baby kept me alive, and was able to bring the jerk back," answered Naruto while deciding to keep the secret of Kyuubi from them in the event they feared the fox and him to an even greater extent. "So why leave? You completed the mission, so your hero's welcome was in order, right?" asked Tazuna with Naruto looking at him right in the eyes that were filled pain. "No, there was no welcome for me. The shinobi waiting for our return took Sasuke, but left me there on my knees while my exhausted body screamed in pain from my injuries, and dragging the Uchiha back into Konoha by myself. I barely make it to my apartment, and people are already on the streets looking for me with the intent to kill with one of the Hokage shinobi knocking on my door. He was holding back the urge to take a kun and jam it into my skull while saying the Hokage wants to see me. I'm not in her office for more than 5 seconds, and she's throwing projectiles at me with her insane strength. She blamed me for Sasuke's condition when I brought him back even though most of the blood on his clothes and skin are mine. She then gets a hold of me before using my body as a punching bag, though something tells me an actual punching bag would have gotten more respect. I can see the hate, spite, and all-out contempt she had for me while looking her right in the eyes. So I spit in her face, which allowed me to get free from her grip, and jumped out the window of the Hawkage Tower to my apartment. I had a shadow clone disguise itself as a bird to spy on her while she talked to Jirtya of the Sannin, who you might know as the author of those perverted orange books, and sensei to the Yondaime Hawkage. They were going to have my chakra sealed off and then have me thrown into the maximum security level portion of the prison Konoha, as for all shinobi they catch that are sentenced there for life, explained Naruto, with everyone now looking shocked by this. But such a place would be hell on earth for you. How long would they put you in there for? Asked Tazuna, with Naruto smiling an empty sad smile. Forever, until the day I die. Meaning I would either die in the prison at the hands of the inmates or at the hands of the guards themselves, considering no one in Konoha gives a damn about me in the slightest. Dying of old age is a distant third option for me, but by that point I'd probably be wishing I died much sooner and just be a broken shell of my former self, answered Naruto, with Tazuna and the others looking appalled by his words. But why would they do that? What could be the Hokage's reason for it? Asked Tsunami, with Naruto looking hesitant to answer. If I tell you, do you promise not to hate me? Asked Naruto, with the family looking at him in surprise and then each other. Of course, we can keep an open mind, answered Tazuna, with Naruto nodding. The day I was born was the day the strongest of the Biju known as Kyuubi attacked the leaf. It snarled, it roared, and it rampaged throughout the lead while causing a lot of death in the process. The Yondaime Hawkage knew the only way to stop the Biju from causing total destruction was to seal it into a recently born baby, and by recent, I mean less than an hour after the child was born. The Yondaime Hawkage sealed the Kyuubi into that newly born child and saved the village from complete annihilation. At the cost of his very life, answered Naruto, with the family with him so far in the story. So the man died a hero, what about the kid? Asked Tazuna, with Naruto shaking his head no. He was hated, badly hated. The child was considered to either be a monster for holding the Biju or was believed to be the Biju made human. So the people went out of their way to hurt the child at every possible turn. Beatings, stabbings, poisoning of food, and the food that wasn't poisoned was moldy. Ironically, the only reason the boy survived as long as he did was because of very burden in his body, because the fox's chakra would heal his injuries within a matter of moments, answered Naruto, with Tsunade gasping, Inari now looking angry, and Tazuna looked like he wanted to drown himself in sake. The kid holding the Kyuubi was you. Is you, said Tazuna at last, with Tsunami and Inari looking at Naruto now, with the blonde nodding. Yeah. You remember that night when Inari yelled at my team about not knowing what suffering truly was, and I stormed out after getting in his face. Now you know why, Inari. Your life was bad because of Gato, but the life of a Jinchuriki is considered far worse, and there are 9 of us total. Ever heard of Sabaku no Gara in the shinobi village of Suna? His own father, the Kazekage himself, hired assassins to kill him, and Gaara's own uncle tried to do the same because they hated him so damn much. Gaara's father thought of him faulty weapon, while the uncle lost his sister in the process of making him into a Jinchuriki. The Biju inside of Gaara protects him with what many consider to be the ultimate defense, so no one ever hurt Gaara physically because of his sand protecting him from harm, explained Naruto, with Inari looking ashamed of himself saying those words to his big brother back when he was still moping about. Damn kid, that's, wow, replied Tazuna, since that was all he could say. Yeah, I'm on run. It won't be long before they have Hunter Nin trying to find out where I am or declare me dead after that fall off the cliff. Either way, I'm screwed since I can't stay here and risk your lives. I may be declared dead in Konoha, but that will only satisfy the Hawkage for so long until she sends Hunter Nin or other Konoha shinobi to the places I'm welcome. Your home being one of them, and I doubt they'll be remotely civil if they sense I was here, replied Naruto, with the family looking depressed since they didn't want him to leave. Wait, I think I know of a super awesome place where you can lay low and no one can find you, exclaimed Tazuna, with Inari smacking his forehead. Grandpa, stop using those words or I'm going to help Mom make this a dry house, said Inari, with Tazuna going pale in the face. Sorry, I'll be good. But seriously, I do know the perfect place. Have you ever heard of Whirlpool Country? Asked Tazuna, with Naruto nodding since Kyuubi had told him about it during their 2-day boat trip. Yeah, It belonged to the Uzumaki clan that I'm descended from on my mother's side, answered Naruto with Tazuna's smile increasing. Wave Country was actually part of Whirlpool ages ago. The continent isn't that far off from us after all these years. I know a guy who can take you there to hold up until the heat dies down, and I'm sure there are a few relics lying around there you can learn to use to get stronger. Just because the place is a mess doesn't mean those that made it that way were able to destroy everything about the Uzumaki clan in general, replied Tazuna with Naruto nodding since he did wish to see his mother's homeland. The sooner the better. No offense, you guys, but the sooner I'm out of your hair the better for you, and for me with Konoha not on my trail. By the time they come here, any scent of me here will be considered old or non-existent, replied Naruto with Tazuna nodding and understanding. I'll get in contact with the boatman later today. You just relax for now and spend time with my family, said Tazuna while giving the blonde a firm pat on the shoulder for positive reassurance. Kami knows the boy needed it. Whirlpool several days later. So this is Whirlpool, it's so new yet, so familiar. Kyuubi, should I be feeling like this? Asked Naruto with the Kyuubi stirring in his cage. Perhaps, I don't know, you are in Uzumaki by blood. I can feel the souls around this place stirring, answered Kyuubi with Naruto nodding since he was hearing things too. They betrayed us. We demand justice, avenge us, punish them, hurt them like they hurt us. Naruto could hear all the souls of his long-lost kin as his blood came alive in him, and he began to breathe heavily while hearing the different things they were saying. At first, he didn't know what they were talking about, but as the blonde walked through the ruins of his old home, a crunching sound was heard, and Naruto looked down to see he step on something metallic. It was a ninja headband, not just any ninja headband. It was a Konoha ninja headband. Naruto's eyes widened before picking it up, the cries of the Uzumaki clan crying harder now in his ears, and was bombarded with images of the past. Konoha shinobi were here the day Whirlpool fell, and the Uzumaki clan was nearly wiped out, at least a handful of people. But the Konoha shinobi weren't here that day to save Whirlpool Country or the Uzumaki clan from certain destruction. They were here to kill almost all of them. How many did you kill? Quite a few. Same here. Where is Jiraiya-sama? Securing the Uzumaki girl chosen to be the next vessel of Kyuubi. The other one is getting too old to hold the beast. To think the Shadame Hokage married her and didn't even use the wench as a weapon against our enemies. Well, hopefully the Sandame Hokage will not make the same mistake and train this new bitch to do what she's told in times of war. Don't worry. If he doesn't, then Danzo-sama will, and our enemies will be wiped out. Naruto didn't want to hear any more of this from the long-forgotten moment from the past and crushed the symbol of his treacherous village in his hand. The cries of his people, his true family ringing loudly, and it was clear to him that the only path before him was to get revenge on Konoha. So you've come, my successor. Naruto's rage left him for a moment as he heard the voice, which was the loudest and most commanding of them all. It drowned out all the other voices and began walking to the one that he could feel was guiding him to a massive mountain in the distance. Come, young one. Come to me, my successor. Struggling to follow, Naruto made his way through the harsh terrain of the forest in front of him and killed vicious wild animals size of a full-grown man. He got a few wounds on his body for his efforts and had yet to see where this voice was leading him. Was there even a spirit guiding him, or had he finally lost his mind? When Naruto finally got to the base of the mountain, he gasped at the sight of so many swords marking the graves of fallen warriors, and could hear them calling out to him, cheering him for coming like he was a hero from some great war coming home after years of pain, suffering, and rumors of his demise from the conflict. He felt welcomed by these souls, and Naruto in turn welcomed them, for they were his long-lost kin. Are you feeling and seeing this, Kyuubi? Asked Naruto with the fox nodding that he was on both counts. Yes, Kit, but do not dawdle here. Find the one that is calling to you. I sense something very powerful nearby, something I have not felt since, before my creation, answered Kyuubi with Naruto frowning. What do you mean by before your creation, fox? Asked Naruto with Kyuubi suddenly going quiet. Come closer, my successor. You are almost there. I have been waiting for you for such a long time. Focusing on the voice calling out to him instead of getting an answer to his question from Kyuubi, Naruto walked past row upon row of swords until he stopped in front of one that had a powerful aura around it, and beckoned the blonde to touch it. Not one to go against his own instincts, Naruto felt himself kneeling before this great weapon, and gently put a hand on the handle of the sword. In that instant, all things around Naruto and the sword were gone with a brilliant white light surrounding him. Standing behind the weapon stood a tall, well-muscled man with an eye patch on his face, which he could see had seen battle from the scars there, and stood like a warrior. His arms crossed in front of him, and he gazed down at Naruto with analytic eyes. He was wearing a mixture of shinobi and samurai clothing meant to balance himself in terms of flexibility, yet take a hit when dodging was not an option. "Welcome home, young Uzumaki, though I'm surprised to see the one directly descended from my blood kneeling before me in such a condition," said the figure with Naruto not moving from his spot and just looked in awe at him. "Direct descendant? I don't understand. Who are you?" asked Naruto with the figure's one eye narrowing at him. "My name is Uzumaki Genshin, one of the three sons of the Sage of Six Paths, wielder of the legendary Rinnegan and the infamous sword of Jubai," answered Genshin with Naruto's one eye widening at the sight of his ancestor. "The Jubai? Don't you mean Kyuubi?" asked Naruto with Genshin shaking his head no. Before the 9 Biju came into existence, they were all one Biju named the Jubai, and was sealed inside the Sage of Six Paths to make him the very first Jinchuriki. After the sealing, he took the fang that broke off from his battle with Jubai to form this sword you are now touching, and can only wielded by someone directly descended from that man. Before his death, he split the Jubai into 9 different chakra-based animals that would become the Biju. Each of them could be controlled by someone of the sage's bloodline, for each of his 3 sons inherited this power from him while he held the Jubai. I was the 3rd son, but he never considered me to be one of his offspring for reasons he would never say, and proclaimed I would inherit nothing from him. After the sage's death, the 2 sons he did acknowledge as his own offspring soon fought for the right to be his successor, and ignored me in the process. I didn't mind since I didn't care for such things, and I never felt they were worthy of being called my brothers anyway. So I took the sword of Jubai and left before they confronted me about taking what didn't belong to a bastard child, unworthy of such power. I told them they wanted the sword of Jubai so badly. Then they combat me for it, and see if they are in fact worthy of being called the sons of the Sage of Six Paths. During the battle, I revealed the Rinnegan to both my illegitimate brothers, and easily beat them within an inch of their lives while having them both at my mercy. In the end, I spared them on a whim and told both those Bakas to leave me alone, or else. In the end, seeing as they had no choice in the matter while helpless, they agreed to do just that, and I never saw them again while I forged my own clan here in Whirlpool, explained Genshin, seeing Naruto nod while absorbing this tale being told in front of him with the events the spirit described appearing around him. "What happened to the 2 brothers? What became of them?" asked Naruto with Genshin scoffing. "They continued to feud with each other while leaving me in the back of their minds to forget about, until they were strong enough to oppose me. They never did, and soon each brother forged their own clans that would one day come together to build the Leaf Village in Fire Country. You may know them as the Senju and Uchiha clans with the power to manipulate the Biju just like the Uzumaki clan does," answered Genshin with Naruto now looking floored by this news. "That's why they pampered him so much. They want Sasuke team to active his eyes and use me as their weapon with him pulling the strings while they pull the ones they have on him," exclaimed Naruto angrily with Genshin raising an eyebrow at his descendant. "Show me your memories, boy. I can tell you have been through a great deal in your short life already with the Senju and the Uchiha being at the heart of it all," said Genshin with Naruto nodding, and felt the Uzumaki spirit enter his mind to see his memories. In the end, Genshin had a face of pure fury, and the aura around the sword grew to match the spirit's anger. Looking down at Naruto, the Uzumaki spirit could see the boy's one eye had been damaged in a fight, and a very recent one too. "If you're looking at my eye, the reason Kyuubi hasn't healed it is because of pieces from the Shadames got stuck in there, and the overall energy generated by my chakra made the jewel's power kick in. The fox can't heal it, so I'm stuck with only one good eye," said Naruto since he saw Genshin looking at his damaged eye. "I know. I saw the memory of that moment. Still, one does not need their eyes to be a great shinobi, and through me you will become even greater than myself. You will train here under my guidance, my tutelage, and make Konoha regret their decision to ever lay a hand on you," replied Genshin with Naruto bowing his head humbly before him. "I humbly accept this great offer, Genshin-sensei. Teach me all that you know, and I will become a shinobi worthy of being called your successor. The Uchiha, the Senju, Jirya of the Sannin, and every single one of my enemies that rise up in the process will fall at my hands. I will show them no mercy. I will make them beg for death like they tried to make me do so many times in my life growing up," proclaimed Naruto with Genshin now smiling at him. "Take the sword of Jubai out of the ground, my student. I will now guide you from within your very body," replied Genshin with Naruto obeying his command, and lifted the sword out of the ground with the sides of the blade glowing with life. Grinning for the first time in a long time at something finally going his way, Naruto had sheathed the weapon gently into the thick scabbard before walking away from the sacred grave site with the spirits of his kin cheering him on further. He was their champion. The one capable of getting justice the Uzumaki clan had been deprived of for decades, if not more, when you count the fact Genshin himself was scorned by his father, the Sage of Six Paths, while being called illegitimate. It was time the Uzumaki clan got the justice it rightfully deserved and was denied for so long. It had taken 2 whole years of nearly non-stop training, but Uzumaki Naruto had finally completed the training his sensei Uzumaki Genshin set down for him. The man knew Whirlpool better than anyone, even after all this time with the landscape changing in different places since his days being alive, and found a hidden storehouse filled with ancient knowledge of the Uzumaki clan. From scrolls with jutsus, to the sealing arts from beginners to advance, and even one of Genshin's old shinobi armor that was a little dusty yet was still wearable. Of course, what surprised Naruto just as much was that someone else found it too, as the place had shown signs of being updated since Genshin's time in being in the storehouse last, and further study revealed Uzumaki Mito herself had been the one to find it. As it turned out, she was a big fan of Genshin from her days as a child growing up, listening to the history of the Uzumaki clan being told truthfully, and tried to find the sword of Jubai in the hopes of one day being a great leader of the clan. Sadly, the woman failed to find the legendary weapon, but found his secret storehouse, and turned it into her own. Mito had left much behind before leaving for Konoha to be with her Senju for a husband, something Genshin had frowned upon when reading that particular part in the journal she left behind, and yet was glad that the man she did marry wasn't like his ancestor. The two actually liked each other, and did want to get married despite the misgivings each clan had for one another while the Uchiha were outright against it. Upon further exploring of the storehouse, Naruto saw Mito's handiwork in seals, which even now were more advanced than what were used today, and Genshin told him that the oldest Uzumaki-designed seals would always beat anything Jirya of the Sannin or any other seal master could make to this present day. Naruto had to agree, as the seals Mito had made were designed to help future Jinchuriki with weaker, and possibly unstable seals become up to par to hold their respected Biju. There was even one for female Jinchuriki for when they were pregnant, and the seal was weakened from the stress of giving birth. Sadly, though, she never got a chance to use this because of being stuck in Konoha the whole time, and the loss of Whirlpool itself threw a monkey wrench into possibly coming back to use them. Naruto didn't hold it against her, though, and neither did Genshin, since the woman wanted to protect secrets from potential enemy shinobi. Genshin and Naruto knew deep down. Uzumaki Mito herself didn't fully trust Konoha with this vast wealth of knowledge, and she was right not to. After reading the journal, Naruto began learning what Genshin and Mito had left in this storehouse with great zeal. Genshin didn't pull any punches either. The man was a cruel taskmaster to be sure, and it was no wonder the Uzumaki spirit had dominated his 2 brothers when they challenged him for his power. Naruto worked tirelessly in his training every day until not even Kyubai's rejuvenating chakra could get him back on his feet. But like they say, no pain, no gain. And boy did Naruto gain quite a bit since his time training with Genshin. Chakra control, surviving in the wilderness of Whirlpool that made the forest of death look like a simple walk in the park, and mastering jutsus until he could do the hand signs quite literally in his sleep. He did sword katas like Genshin had instructed, with the 2 dueling in his mindscape to further gauge his skills, with each duel showing the boy was improving. Naruto used the thick trees in Whirlpool as training posts, hitting them until his bones would break, and wait until they healed with Kyubai's help before going at it again the second the bones were healed. It was the hell-on-earth kind of training, but Naruto loved and thrived in it like he should have in Konoha if they had decided to properly teach him at the academy. When it was over, Genshin knew his time was up, as he had nothing left to teach Naruto, and smiled down at his still-growing student for the last time. Naruto didn't want the spirit to leave, but knew it was inevitable, and it was going to happen no matter what. Still, the boy would not cry, for he knew Genshin would not want it, and bowed before the man to show his sign of respect to his sensei. "I have taught you everything I know, my student. You have gone beyond all expectations, Naruto. You have pushed yourself in these last 2 to achieve a level that takes others a lifetime to achieve. Do you know why?" said Genshin with Naruto looking at him with his proud one blue eye shining while wearing the spirit's old uniform complete with the eye patch. Because I'm doing this for the greatness of the clan, to get the justice we deserve. I am fighting for a purpose greater than myself, answered Naruto with Genshin nodding. Correct. Fight for a purpose greater than yourself, and you will achieve a level of power that far surpasses those of normal shinobi that fight only for themselves. Shinobi like the Uchiha and Senju clans my two dumb brothers founded years ago, said Genshin with Naruto nodding. I will treasure our time together, Genshin-sensei. Thank you for all you have done for me, said Naruto with the spirit's hand touching his shoulder. As will I, Uzumaki Naruto. The time is at hand. Go forth into the elemental countries and make the world be reminded once more of the strength that those of our bloodline possess, exclaimed Genshin with Naruto nodding before the world around them went from white all around to the remains of Whirlpool. I won't fail you, Genshin-sensei. I promise, answered Naruto knowing that the spirit would hear him even if the man had gone off to the afterlife. And so it begins, said Kyuubi to himself while looking over at the two figures in the shadows, who were here every step of the way regarding Naruto's life and had yet to show themselves to the boy. Shut up, Kyuubi, said the male voice of the two figures. Or what? I'm not the one who sealed me up into his only son and then expected the fools to do what you wished them to do. That was your own damn fault, Yondaime Hawkage, exclaimed Kyuubi with the Yondaime Hawkage growling at him. And what do you know, Fox? It was because of you my wife died and couldn't raise him, countered the Yondaime with Kyuubi growled back. You tried to imprison me again. I never asked to be sealed away. You humans did that to me without any regard to how I felt, using Biju like we're pets, slaves, and your personal weapons while not using us in that particular order. What right did you have to imprison me once I was freed from the power of the Sharingan? You only sealed me away because you wanted a weapon in the form of your son. Kyuubi shot back with the Yondaime Hawkage going stiff and tense at his words. I only wanted Naruto to have a means to combat Madara and his future plans for the Leaf. Naruto was going to need all the power he could muster under his command, and you were going to be the edge he needed. The Yondaime shot back while the Kyuubi just laughed at him. Really? Then why don't meet him face to face in here and tell him that yourself? Questioned Kyuubi with Minato being silent. Because we are ashamed, answered the woman next to the Yondaime. As you should be Uzumaki Kushina. After all the years your son wondered about his parents, it was through me that he knew your names, and yet not once did you make any attempt to appear before him, Kyuubi said while Kushina looked away from the fox. We'll talk to him when the time is right, explained Minato with the fox shaking his head at him. And when will that be? Today, tomorrow. In a week, a month, a year perhaps, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, on his deathbed if he lives long enough to die of old age. When? Asked Kyuubi with Minato looking away from the fox. That's none of your business, the Yondaime answered with Kyuubi shaking his head. Some father you are Namikaze Minato. It's no wonder the people of Konoha have no love for your son. You have no love for him either, Kyuubi said before leaving the two of them alone to dwell on his words. Is that true, Minato? Asked Kushina with Minato not looking her in the eyes. I do love our son Kushina, but I don't like the fact he's going to destroy Konoha. I am from Konoha and I don't want to see it destroyed, answered Minato while Kushina just scowled at him. And the pain he went through, the betrayal he suffered from those around him we thought were trustworthy. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, and the clan heads themselves are all guilty here, Minato. Are you telling me that they don't deserve to know our son's wrath and the wrath of every Uzumaki your village betrayed? Asked Kushina with Minato just sighing. What do you want me to say, Kushina, that I'm angry, outraged, cursing those fools for betraying us both? Of course I am, I'm all that and more. But Konoha is my home, I was born there. I learned everything there is to know about being a shinobi and it's my home. I don't approve of him destroying it, answered Minato with Kushina looking livid at him. You would deny our son the justice he deserves simply because of that. You would side with Konoha, those betrayers, and our son's abusers because it's your home. What about my home, Minato? Whirlpool was my home first, and it got destroyed by the very villager it was allied with that you were born in. Your loyalty should be to your son. Kushina nearly yelled at her husband with Minato looking away. Well, I don't see it that way, replied Minato with Kushina looking absolutely pissed off at him. So you would screw over your own son to protect the village. The first time you did it was for noble reasons in the hopes the fruits of your sacrifice would be wonderful with Naruto being loved. Now it's for a stupid one. All you care about is Konoha's survival and having a weapon against Madara. You don't even see Naruto as your son. Well, I do, and I'm going to let him know that, replied Kushina before walking away from the man. She'll come around, and when it's my turn to speak to Naruto, he'll see things my way, said Minato to himself while sensing a chill of dread run up his spine. Konoha 2 months later. Tsunade was not happy. Why? Because Uchiha Sasuke had decided in his infinite and extremely arrogance to leave Konoha for Orochimaru. Again, why? In order to achieve the needed power to kill his older brother. It was the same old tune with the boy. I must kill my older brother for the glory of the Uchiha clan, or it was Itachi must die. That's all that matters to me. And all that other crap. To make matters even worse, Konoha was in dire straits with the loss of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, with allies the brat had gained for the village being no more. Many in the Leaf blamed Naruto for this after word spread through Konoha, originally the punishment he would receive for harming the Uchiha, and how he was presumed dead after running away to escape it. A party was thrown after that throughout the village, and all was well at first with Naruto gone, and then believed to be killed during his attempted escape. Many were thrilled by this, but a select handful were not, and had to be silent due to the vast majority wouldn't stand for it. Those that missed Naruto were Hyuga Hinata, Mitarashi Anko, Yuzuki Yugao, Tsunade's assistant Shizune, Tuchai, and his daughter Ayame. The Konohamaru Corps had been supportive of the Uzumaki, but had abandoned their one-time idol after Asuma told his nephew that it was because of Naruto that his grandmother died the night of Kyuubi's attack, and had the blonde stayed in the arena during the invasion. His grandfather might have lived against Orochimaru. While a bit far-fetched given how things happened, it had the impact Asuma was hoping for, and the love the trio had to the Uzumaki was no more. Now they hated Naruto without question. Get me a retrieval team in here, Shizune, all Jounin level. Commanded Tsunade with Shizune complying, and within minutes she had them all in her office. You called for us, Hokage-sama? Asked one Jounin with a scar on his right cheek. Yes, Uchiha Sasuke has gone rogue again. Bring him back to Konoha. Use of force is authorized, but nothing is to happen to him that would stunt his growth, the ability to use the Sharingan or have offspring that might have the ability to use the Sharingan. Am I understood? Said Tsunade with the group nodding. Yes, Hokage-sama. They all answered at the same time before she motioned them to go, and they obeyed instantly. That Uchiha is more trouble than he's worth, replied Jiraiya from the window with Tsunade rubbing her temples. I know he is Baka, but we need the Sharingan and we need him here to produce more of them. Why isn't Sakura pregnant yet? Asked Tsunade, knowing the wedding happened a few months ago with Sakura going around flaunting her new status as Sasuke's wife in front of everyone. How should I know? I don't peep on them, replied Jiraiya with Tsunade giving him a piecing look. From what I asked the ship employees, eating, sleeping, and just about nothing. In fact, after he did his deed with Sakura, I found out from the ship's captain that Sasuke had just about demanded to sleep in another room away from her, and did for most of the time on the ship, answered Jiraiya with Tsunade looking pissed off. Damn that spoiled boy. We spent a fortune and then some on his honeymoon with the investment being a sack of crap. Didn't Sakura at least try to screw him in his sleep? Asked Tsunade with Jiraiya shrugging. I think she tried, but failed to carry it out due to Sasuke apparently being a very light sleeper. Hence why he demanded another room, answered Jiraiya with Tsunade letting out an angry yell before slamming her fist onto the desk. That's it. When he's brought back, I want him tied to a bed, and Sakura screwing him around the clock while being pumped full of fertility pills. I want her to be pregnant by the end of the month and giving birth to an army of Uchiha. Commanded Tsunade, as Jiraiya nodded, and leaped out the window knowing he would be the one to tell Sakura the news. With Sasuke. The Uchiha had enough of Konoha, plain and simple. Why? All they wanted from him was the Sharingan and his future offspring. The only reason he married Sakura was due to her finally acquiring strength worthy of his attention that she would give birth to strong Uchiha children. So they got married, went on the honeymoon, and instantly things went bad for him since Sakura just wanted to stay in bed all day trying to get pregnant. He just wanted to screw her once, plant his seed, and if she didn't get knocked up, well, he'd try again another time when he was in the mood. The Uchiha set the pace in bed and only did things when they wanted to do them. A few mere thrusts, a quick grunt, his seeds were planted, and his task was done for the night. After that, he was sleeping on top of a shocked and unsatisfied Sakura since she was not expecting that all he had done was minimal for what was required on his part. She tried to counter it with her fangirl-like mind telling her he was exhausted, and it was the first night on the cruise, so it was only fair to let her husband unwind in his own way. Of course, what Sakura failed to realize the entire time was that Sasuke didn't care about Sakura's need for pleasurable stimulation. only that she fulfilled her duties in giving him offspring and leave him alone for the rest of the trip, until they were back in Konoha to plan the death of his brother. Sakura, of course, had tried to do more with him later on the next night while he was asleep, but the Uchiha quickly put a stop to that nonsense with his Sharingan making her fall asleep, and then requested a separate room to be in for the rest of the cruise. Of course, Sakura would never tell anyone the truth behind their time on the cruise, as she was too loyal a puppy to stain the reputation of the Uchiha clan, and would gush to just about everyone in the village about her husband being a wild stallion in bed. That they went on for hours filled with passion, romance, and how they rocked the room with such intensity they almost single-handedly tipped the cruise ship over. He didn't care whether Sakura said it or not. All he cared about was getting away from Konoha, finding the snake Sannin, and getting the power to kill Itachi. Konoha wouldn't care if he went rogue, just like the last time 2 years ago when they pardoned him for his crimes and were actually blaming Naruto of all people on his actions. The Uchiha found it hysterical that Naruto was the one blamed for his actions, yet Sasuke knew that it wasn't true. But he went along with it since there was no point in arguing over the situation since he benefited from their decision and enjoyed being loved by the village. Of course, all good things came to an end, or at least for the moment until Itachi was killed. Sasuke would get what he wanted, then to show his repentance, the Uchiha would take Sakura again every so often until she was pregnant, and then find another girl willing to carry his child. It was the perfect plan. That pathetic loser is probably in some ditch somewhere dying, or is dead with his corpse feeding some other pathetic animal in desperate need of food to survive, thought Sasuke while finding himself at the Valley of the End once more, and the sensation of that battle coming back to him. "Hello, Sasuke," came a voice behind the Uchiha, who turned around to find a fist hitting him in the face, and all went dark. When the Uchiha awoke from his unconsciousness, he found his body racked with pain, and for good reason, with his body broken in different places. His right arm was bent at an odd angle, and his fingers were bent all over the place. The left arm was smashed up in a similar fashion from the shoulder on down, and his legs were broken from the knee cap on down. It also hurt to breathe. Looking up from his down position, Sasuke saw the figure sitting down on a rock in front of him, and staring with the one eye while the other was behind an eye patch. His head was covered by a crimson helmet resembling a fox, his face was covered by black cloth, and wore mostly black with orange flames around along the back. The clothing had some samurai armor plating on it here and there, but nothing that would stop the body from being flexible, and dodging when movement was a necessity in battle. The various pieces of armor were to ensure that any hit taken could be absorbed in a fight, and Sasuke knew that was a handy thing to have when fighting strong opponents. The mysterious figure's hands sported gauntlets, but the left one had claws on them, and made the Uchiha extra cautious of that limb since each blade was jagged with the intent to rip flesh to shreds. "Do you know who I am? The village I'm from, the elite clan you dare attack?" asked Sasuke before crying out in pain. "I would save what little strength you still have in your body, Uchiha. Both your arms are broken in multiple places, and your knees from their caps on down are almost beyond the ability to be healed. As it stands, only someone of Senjutsune's caliber can fix your body, and even then, you will never be the same," answered the figure while Sasuke just glared at him. "You bastard! Cried out Sasuke while finding it hard to move and take breaths. "Did I also forget to mention I broke quite a few of your ribs on both sides?" "I did that too while you were out of it," replied the figure as he saw Sasuke glaring him and ignored the fool's eyes. "Answer me. Do you know what you've done, who you provoked, who I am, the clan I am from?" asked Sasuke with the figure sighing before getting off his seat and began to walk over to the wounded Uchiha. "To answer your first question, I do know who you are, Uchiha Sasuke, and I know what village you are from. I also know what you are too. You are a spoiled child raised in a village that catered to your every whim no matter how big or small it was. They gave you everything you could ask for. Money, women, fame, and shinobi willing to train you to become something great. What do you do in return?" "You run away to the snake Sannin for power," replied the figure with Sasuke spitting blood out of his mouth at the man's feet in front of him. "Shut up. What do you know? Power is the only thing I need, and I'll take it any way I can no matter the cost. I will kill Itachi," exclaimed Sasuke before he let out a groan of pain from the sensation in his chest in finding it harder to breathe with each passing moment. "And what power is Orochimaru going to give you exactly? Does it have something to do with your curse seal? We both know he's never going to let you go after Itachi," said the figure currently walking in a circle around the Uchiha. "He will." I have something the Sannin wants, and the only way Orochimaru will get my body is if he gives me the power to kill Itachi," exclaimed Sasuke while fighting back the pain he felt with the figure laughing at him. "You stupid, arrogant fool. The man holds all the cards to your future if you go to him. Orochimaru will make sure you never get stronger than him, so when the time comes to take your body, he'll be able to take it without question," explained the figure with Sasuke scowling at him. "I'd leave before that happened," Sasuke shot back with the figure scoffing at him. "Sure you would. Do you really expect Orochimaru to not have steps be taken ensuring you stay by his side at all times?" asked the figure with Sasuke still glaring. "I'd stop him. I come from an elite clan. I have the blood of greatness running through my veins." Sasuke shot back with the figure having enough of his voice, the whole "I will defy you by glaring" thing, and punched the Uchiha right in the face to break his jaw with the force from the fist, almost knocking the boy out. "Blood of greatness. Ha! Blood of traitors is more like it. You are weak. Always have been and always will be Sasuke. You were weak when I beat you 2 years ago, and you are weak now. I hit you with one punch and you were out like a light. You claim to be so strong account of your bloodline, but we both know that's crap and that you got where you are today because people carried. You never pulled your own weight with your own strength. It was always someone else going out of their way to make the last Uchiha happy and taking the load off your back. Go back to the Hokage. Go back to that bitch and tell her Uzumaki Naruto is alive. Tell her it's because of me you're not in the clutches of Orochimaru," said Naruto before walking away from the Uchiha, canceling the barrier he set up around them, and then flared his chakra knowing the team looking for the runt would come running. They always did. "It can't be Naruto. Naruto is a loser, a dead last from the academy. There is no way he would do this to me," thought Sasuke with darkness taking him before the team arrived to pick him up. Hokage Tower sometime later. "You morons! I told you not to hurt the Uchiha in a way that it would affect his performance," yelled Tsunade with the Jounin huddled in the corner cowering at the angry appearance of their Hokage. Hokage Sama, you have to understand WWE had no choice," explained the elected leader of the group, who was just really pushed forward and left to fend for himself in front of the Hokage while the others were pressed back against the wall. "You had no choice. It's because of your stupidity that Uchiha Sasuke will not be able to reach his peak performance as one of MySHinobi," yelled Tsunade with the Jounin looking back at his team that put him in this situation. "WEH had to stop him from reaching Orochimaru. He was dead set on getting there no matter what we did to try and stop him," the Jounin explained quickly while keeping his stuttering to a bare minimum, and saw Tsunade was less than pleased. "ANBU? Arrest them all until I figure out a proper punishment for them," commanded Tsunade with the ANBU appearing and taking the group of Jounin out of the room. "So how badly was the Uchiha messed up?" asked Jiraiya with Tsunade giving him a huge glare that made the Sannin fear for his life. "Badly. I don't know why the team disobeyed me when I gave the order, but they will be punished for it," exclaimed Tsunade with Jiraiya seeing the woman pissed to no end. Not surprising given how the village has been attacked repeatedly by their enemies on all fronts, Suna won't life a finger to help, and just about every other ally Naruto got the leaf said, "Screw you," while giving Konoha the finger. Since then it was a fight for survival against their enemies and the Jinchuriki each village had against them. And all during that time, the councils along with the clan heads were bitching about how a search team should be sent to find Naruto and make the boy into the perfect weapon to combat the other shinobi villages. Jiraiya kind of agreed with them since it was the only way to get their foaming at the mouth enemies from winning against them. The only reason the other villages like Kumo and Iwa weren't doing that right now was thanks to the Akatsuki organization trying to take the Jinchuriki from the villages with several barely failed attempts. "I see. Well, I'm the bringer of more bad news when I say Naruto hasn't been found yet no matter where I've looked. I went all over the place looking for him, waved to Spring to Suna and every other place he's made himself famous, wherever he is. It's not one of those locations," explained Jiraiya since he had been working overtime to find the brat and didn't get anything at all. "Damn it! Where could he have gone in the past 2 years that we can't find a single hair of him?" questioned Tsunade, as she had marked on the map every location Naruto had been outside of the village and marks next to them indicating he had never been there. "I don't know Tsunade. I honestly thought he would be in Wave Country considering the brat was heading north and the boat possibly being steered that general direction. But the natives wouldn't tell me anything, practically formed a mob, and had to run for my life just to escape them," answered Jiraiya with Tsunade sighing from the amount of stress this was putting on her. "Find him, Jiraiya." I don't care how you do it. Just find him, bring Naruto back, and make sure he's in a condition where we can mold him into a proper weapon against our rising number of enemies," commanded Tsunade, seeing the Sannin nod. "There is also the matter of passing down the Kyuubi to another host, and for that we need a future vessel with Uzumaki blood," said Jirya, with Tsunade frowning at first since she knew what he was talking about. Human reproduction and the making of babies. Since Hyuga Hinata was so interested in the brat from the start, I'll talk to Hayashi about letting his daughter be the one to have that honor, and play it off like the village will be indebted to the Hyuga clan if he agrees to it. She's going to be branded with the cage bird seal anyway in a few more years, so it's not like her father will lose any real control over the woman during the pregnancy, stated Tsunade, with Jirya nodding since the Hyuga girl adored Naruto even now. Though why the Hyuga girl did was a mystery to Tsunade, but in all honesty, the fifth Hokage didn't care since love was overrated in her mind, and if the slug princess couldn't be with the one she loved with all her heart, then neither could Hinata. And the child's development. Hayashi and the Hyuga clan will demand a cage bird seal on the child too, stated Jirya, knowing that was going to be one of the first things the Hyuga clan would demand, and have them control the child for being their personal weapon. No. The child will be a weapon to defend Konoha as a whole. We'll have a modified cage bird seal made to ensure the protecting of their bloodline, but it won't be made to hurt the new Jinchuriki simply by using the needed hand sign only they can use, explained Tsunade, with Jirya sighing, knowing that would take a great deal of looking into in terms of research in the sealing arts. "I'll set things up and you deal with Hayashi when the time comes," said Jirya before he was out the window again. "Where are you, brat? Stop hiding and show yourself," said Tsunade to herself, while she looked at the map where any and all possible locations the brat could have gone were all marked as being no chance of him being there. With Naruto few days later. Naruto sat down in mediation, his sword resting on his lap, and focused on the sounds of nature around him. The beating he gave Uchiha Sasuke was one the Uzumaki felt was good and long overdue in his mind. He could have killed the prick, but where would the fun be in that? Naruto knew the Uchiha's pride would never allow the fool to admit that the dead last at the academy had gotten the drop on him and knocked the moron out with a single punch. Besides, he wanted Sasuke to die when the time was right, and Naruto knew that was still a ways to go from now. Still, the Uzumaki wasn't satisfied yet with his work, and wanted to see what Konoha was doing after hearing what happened to their precious Uchiha. No doubt they would be out for blood same way they were out for his when hearing how the last Uchiha lost to the dead last. Maybe now some of those shinobi that get punished will know how I felt before they meet their end, thought Naruto before summoning a shadow clone in front of him. "You called boss?" asked shadow clone Naruto. "Henge into a random person and spy on the village's current rumblings. I want to know every single detail regarding the punishment the retrieval team is getting in regards to the Uchiha being returned messed up," ordered Naruto, with the shadow clone grinning at him before taking off. It was moments later. Naruto felt his world go dark and found himself in the deep within his mindscape. Standing before him, however, was not the Kyuubi, who he thought had done it because the fox wanted to have a conversation, but a woman with red hair and a smile on her face filled with sorrow. She had tears running down her face, and yet the eyes shined with joy at seeing him after so long since the last time they were together. "Hello, son," said Kushina, with Naruto staring at her in shock. "Mother?" asked Naruto with a questioning look before finding Kyuubi in his cage watching this whole event. "Don't look at me, Kit. I played no hand in this. She brought you here," answered the Kyuubi since he saw the boy's questioning look at him. "You really are my mother. I can somehow feel it, but how is this possible?" asked Naruto, with Kushina smiling slightly at him. "When Kyuubi was sealed inside of you, I sealed a portion of my chakra into the seal as a safety measure to ensure the fox couldn't get free and protect you from his chakra. I am a last line of defense against him along with your father," explained Kushina before she moved surprisingly quickly and hugged him while crying into his neck. "If that's true, then why are you here?" "Kyuubi hasn't been doing anything to warrant your intervention," said Naruto while looking at the fox, who snorted at the two and looked away. "As I said before, I had no hand in this. She came here to see you of her own volition," said Kyuubi while Kushina continued to cry into her son's body. "I came here to apologize for what happened." "It was never meant to be this way for you," sobbed Kushina, with Naruto hesitantly putting a hand on the back of his mother. "I know. Kyuubi helped explain to me what happened that night," replied Naruto, with Kushina looking at Kyuubi, who looked away, and it told the woman that the fox didn't tell the boy everything, though she could see why. "You should really tell him, Kyuubi," said Kushina while Kyuubi grumbled and the two Uzumakis broke the embrace to look at the Biju. Tell me what? Asked Naruto while the fox grumbled some more. I might have been responsible for your mother's death, answered Kyuubi with Naruto's eye narrowing at him. What? Asked Naruto with his voice becoming deathly. Naruto, let me explain. After the man claiming to be Uchiha Madara lost control over Kyuubi, the fox saw we were planning to seal him away into you since I was too weak to take him back in my body again, and he moved to kill you to keep his newfound freedom he didn't have for over a century. To protect you from harm, I moved in front of Kyuubi and took his attack to save your life. At that moment, your father used that action to seal Kyuubi into your body, and in the process made you into Kyuubi's third vessel before his death, explained Kushina with Naruto glaring at the fox. Why didn't you tell me that, after all this time? Why? Asked Naruto with Kyuubi now sporting a look of annoyance. And just how exactly was I going to explain it to you? Oh, by the way, Kit, it was by my very claws your mother died saving you from me, and played a key part in my sealing done by your father. Oh yeah, that sounds so swell when I say it like that. You were in enough pain as it was learning about the horrible betrayal Konoha had unleashed upon your mother's clan while being told who your parents were just days prior to that information. You were beaten up mentally and physically. Your mind could not have taken another hit like that no matter who told you that fact, whether it was your mother, your father, or myself. I stayed silent because was wound you did not need to have in your already scarred soul, explained Kyuubi with Naruto's glare softening since the blonde Uzumaki knew it was true. Thank you for that. You're right. Such a truth would have destroyed me, would have destroyed what friendship or partnership we've had going for us until now. You were going to tell me eventually, though, right? Replied Naruto with the fox nodding. Eventually, your mother kind of forced my hand, answered Kyuubi while giving the woman a knowing look with Kushina looking a bit sheepish. Oops, said Kushina with a nervous laugh but soon became serious and turned to her right to see the form of the Yondaime Hokage appear. You have a lot of nerve showing your face here. Unlike Kushina, I know you are not here to make amends to your son, exclaimed Kyuubi furiously behind his cage while slashing at the bars and trying to pierce the man with them when aiming his claws in between them. Sadly, he was out of range, if just barely. Shut up, you lowly animal, shot back Minato while walking up to his son with Kushina and Naruto looking at him cautiously while Kyuubi growled at him. If what he's saying is true, why are you here? Asked Naruto with Minato looking at him and then Kushina. To talk, replied Minato like it was the simplest thing in the world. About what? Asked Naruto while still being cautious. About your plans for Konoha and to persuade you to stop this endeavor to get senseless revenge, answered Minato with Naruto scowling at him and Kushina doing the same. I knew it. You care more about that village than your own son, exclaimed Kushina with Minato shooting her a glare. The village is filled with people I've known my whole life growing up. They deserve a second chance. They deserve the right to redeem themselves, explained Minato with his son scoffing and Kyuubi letting out a cruel laugh that told the Yondaime Hokage the fox thought his response was a cruel joke. Redeem themselves? Are you serious? Those fools practically tortured your son from day one. They spat on your dying wish and you want to give them a chance. Where was your son's chance? His shinobi training at the academy was sabotaged. His sensei that was your student taught him next to nothing. And his godfather that was your very own sensei betrayed the kit in a heartbeat. The Sannin removed your son's name from the Toad contract. The kit's godmother was planning to have his chakra sealed off and thrown away into a maximum-level prison area filled with many of the Leaf's most psychotic and depraved criminals they've caught up until now. What do you think would have happened if they succeeded, you fool? Explained Kyuubi with Minato scowling at him. We're not here to talk about what-ifs, Kyuubi. We're here to talk about the present and the future. Minato shot back with Naruto growling at him. You want to talk about the present? Fine, here is what's happening in the present. Your village you love so much has become a shithole, and it's one they've made themselves. The current Hokage betrayed my mother, the village betrayed my clan, and the country they lived in because they wanted to control the future Jinchuriki of Kyuubi along with every single one that came after my mother. Meaning myself and any offspring I may have had before they killed me in the event I survived the process. The souls of the Uzumaki clan cry out for justice, and I'm going to help them get it. Replied Naruto with Minato looking at him with a frown of disappointment. You were born in Konoha. You have the blood of a Konoha shinobi in your veins. How can you betray me like that? Asked Minato with Naruto looking livid at his stupid father. Betray you? How can you betray me? You're siding with Konoha over that of your own son simply because you feel they deserve redemption when they'd sooner spit it back in your face. I tried to prove them wrong, but the whole time I tried, they didn't listen and still don't care about being proven wrong. All they cared about was hurting me, and they knew they could get away with it no matter what. Who was going to stop them? You were dead. The Sandame Hawkage, he was part of it, my godparents. They hated me just like everyone else. Your student Hade Kakashi. He would have shoved the Chidori into my chest himself if he thought it wouldn't free Kyuubi from my body. They don't care about being proven right or wrong. They only care about themselves and how much they can hurt me no matter what I do to show them the error of their ways, since they are too blind to see the truth. In fact, they don't care to hear it either and would silence me to ensure I never spoke it to anyone, answered Naruto with Minato shaking his head at him. I don't believe that, replied Minato with Kushina scoffing at him. Then it's clear you're in denial, Kushina shot back at him. Regardless of what you two think, I'm not going to let that happen, and I'm going to stop you from getting your senseless revenge, replied Minato with Naruto looking ready to fight. Try living in my shoes for a few years, being lied to, beaten, and then be betrayed by the very people you once trusted to see beyond the veil of blind arrogance. Come back to me in a few years of enduring that before saying to my face that getting revenge on such people is senseless, Naruto said as he drew the sword of Jubai and stared at his father with contempt. Konoha is my home. I will not let it be destroyed, even if it means I have to kill my own son, replied Minato as he now had one of his special kunai in his left hand, and Naruto saw it too. I'm not your son Yondaime, not anymore. Uzumaki Genshin was more of a father to me than you ever were now. All you are is a sperm donor, a means to an end in the cycle of human reproduction, and a symbol in the equation that is the creation of life. Now I am going to write the equation that is the taking of life by taking yours with my sword, said Naruto with Minato materializing his own sword into his right hand. So be it, replied Minato before the two clashed violently. Are you going to stop this? Asked Kyuubi while seeing Kushina watching from the sidelines. Only if it's necessary, answered Kushina while seeing her husband and son going at it, yet neither one using any of their jutsus since the risk of them possibly hitting the seal was too great to chance. You don't see what you're doing is wrong. I gave my life for you and Konoha, Minato exclaimed while glaring at his son while deadlocked. And look how they repaid your sacrifice, hating me, abusing me, trying to make sure I was too weak to do anything or think independently from their line of thought. What kind of life is that? A life with no free will. I was entitled to a life. Naruto shot back at his so-called father. You had a purpose in life. The life of a Jinchuriki is to sacrifice free will in return for the power given to you, explained Minato while Naruto pushed him back. And my mother? Asked Naruto while looking at his father with calculating eyes. Kushina's life was different because at the time we couldn't afford people knowing she was a Jinchuriki. War was all around us. It was one of the reasons Konoha prevailed in the war against Kumo and Iwa, since they never knew of her status as a Jinchuriki. Even if they did know, it would be impossible for them to use her against us as a weapon, since her seal was much stronger than one I put on you, and couldn't draw on the fox's chakra, unless a seal master of my level could alter seal enough to make that happen, explained Minato before they went at it again, with the sounds of metal clanging against metal. So it was just the matter of timing that prevented you from using my mother like the weapon Konoha wanted out of me. To be weak-minded, no free will, and submissive to every command given no matter how life-threatening it was so long as the job got done, said Naruto after figuring out how things played out for his parents now. That is how Jinchuriki are meant to be, Naruto. I did love your mother. I still do. When the war ended, the councils asked me to turn the Kyuubi Jinchuriki we had locked away in secret, like I made them believe she was into a weapon, and told them no. That to do so now at this stage of the war would make us look like the villains, and I wasn't about to do that, replied Minato, as he dodged a sword strike, blocked the clawed blades from the gauntlet with his kunai, and unfortunately took a knee to the gut before taking a foot to the face. If you loved her like you claim, we wouldn't be having this fight, or discussion regarding the Leaf's future destruction. If you loved her like you claim, then you would be truly understanding of my reasons for wanting to burn Konoha down to the ground, and the people living there along with it. You would be disgusted by your sensei, your student, and the people in the village for spitting on your dying wish, exclaimed Naruto as he lashed out with his clawed hand, which Minato blocked again, but not the knee to the face, and slashed down at the man with the sword of the Jubai, only for Minato to block that with great effort. I guess that makes me a sentimental fool, said Minato while trying to push Naruto back with difficulty. No, just a fool. You backed the wrong horse when it came to choosing sides, answered Naruto, as he knocked the sword out of the man's hand, the kunai out of the other, and put the sword of the Jubai through the Yandame's chest. Naruto, I know you feel that Konoha deserves to burn, but not everyone has to die. Exclaimed with blood running down his mouth with his son looking down at him. I know that. There are some worthy of my mercy. They will be spared my wrath, but everyone else, they won't be so lucky, answered Naruto as he twisted the blade and began carving the flesh from his father's body. Naruto, no matter what you might think of me or my reasons for defending Konoha, I am sorry for what happened to you, exclaimed Minato while grabbing his son's wrist to stop him. I do believe you're sorry, but we both know we're past the point where you saying you're sorry just doesn't cut it, replied Naruto as he sliced through Minato and then took his head clean off. The Yandame's body dissolved into a smoke of sorts, while Naruto sheathed his sword and looked over at his mother currently watching with an impassive look on her face. Naruto could tell she wasn't pleased how this conversation between father and son turned out with the two of them fighting to the death. However, he also saw she was happy to see her only son had come out of it alive and in one piece. You did what you had to do, Naruto, replied Kushina with Naruto nodding, was fighting for a purpose greater than anything else, and all those that stood in his way would die. I know, and I'm not going to stop with just Konoha. I'm sick and tired of the elemental countries being the way they are. Divided, scattered, feuding with each other for scraps of power they don't properly distribute to those that need it in their own territories. The poor suffer and rich get extra of everything they already have in their possession. That time is over. The time of these spoiled rich weaklings ruling over us will come to an end, and all that follow them will die, exclaimed Naruto with Kushina seeing the fire in her son's one eye. Naruto was in Uzumaki on a mission, and only another Uzumaki on an equally important yet opposing mission could stop in Uzumaki. No matter what happens, I'll always love you as my son, and I will always be proud of you. Don't believe what anyone else tells you anything different, said Kushina before she hugged him again and felt her spirit leaving him. I won't. Goodbye, mother, replied Naruto with a tear leaving his one eye. Goodbye, son. I've left a gift for you to use should you need it. Kyuubi will help since he's seen me use it against him, replied Kushina before her spirit faded, and Kyuubi was shocked to hear that. What gift? Asked Naruto with the fox sighing. It's a good thing your physical body is sitting down, because I've got a story to tell you about your mother's bloodline and how it was connected to the Biju. If she gave you what I think your mother gave you, the odds of things going in our favor just went up, answered Kyuubi, as he began explaining just what the gift was that Kushina left her son, and how it would help him in the future. Konoha sometime later. While Naruto fought his father within his mindscape, the shadow clone of Naruto was busy keeping the appearance of a traveler by using a henge, and keeping under the radar of Konoha shinobi. As it so happened, the shadow clone walked into Konoha at the perfect time, as a big event was happening in the village square, and just about everyone was attending. Shinobi and civilian alike were gathering with the Hokage at the center of it all, with her ANBU bodyguards and Jirya of the Sannin himself being present. Well, what do you know? This is what a public execution looks like from the spectator's point of view, and when it's not the boss's head on the chopping block, thought the Naruto shadow clone with interest, knowing that the boss would think the same way when he dispelled with all his memories going to the real deal Uzumaki. People of Konoha, you are all here to witness the execution of several Jounin shinobi, who disobeyed my command to bring back Uchiha Sasuke, and with only minor injuries that could be healed quickly. These Jounin here defied my orders, badly injuring the last loyal member of the Uchiha clan, and hindered his ability to be a shinobi when he is a full-grown adult at the prime of his life. Exclaimed Tsunade with the crowd cheering at justice being done for the Uchiha while booing the Jounin responsible for the action, or who they believe to be responsible. So she's going to execute them, huh? I thought she sent more than this small group of 3. No 4 Jounin. The others must have been punished in another matter. Oh well. No skin off my back, thought Shadow Clone Naruto, while seeing Tsunade playing to the crowd demanding justice for the injured Uchiha these Jounin harmed. As your Hokage, I have decided that the only true punishment available that is deemed appropriate in my eyes is a public execution to remind my shinobi under my command that failing to comply with my orders will not be tolerated, and you will face Konoha's justice. Proclaimed Tsunade with the crowd eating it up, and the Jounin about to die were looking at their Hokage for mercy. Konoha's justice, my cloned ass. A cheating boyfriend getting an STD from a hooker is a greater level of justice than this, thought Naruto's shadow clone before Tsunade gave the order, and the 4 Jounin were hanged in front of everyone with the crowd's cheers getting louder. Quite the sight, huh? Said Hadake Kakashi with a sense of pride in his voice, though he was reading his book at the moment, so it was hard to tell if he was really interested in the death of 4 Jounin over that of his porn book. Huh. Oh, you mean this public execution? Yeah, I guess, I mean. You've seen them all, replied Shadow Clone Naruto casually with Kakashi nodding while still reading his Ika Ika Paradise. True. Still, there is one I'd want to see above all others, replied Kakashi while Shadow Clone Naruto continued to play the surprised traveler. Really? Who? Anyone I know? Asked Shadow Clone Naruto in a joking fashion with Kakashi shrugging. Uzumaki Naruto, answered Kakashi with the Shadow Clone acting surprised. Really? Isn't he the container of the Kyuubi? One of the 9 Biju, asked the Shadow Clone while Kakashi shrugged his shoulders. Yeah, that's the one. He injured the Uchiha first with the demonic chakra in his body. Though I suppose all the secret training I gave Sasuke since my genin team was formed just wasn't enough to combat the fox's power, said Kakashi offhandedly with Naruto's shadow clone trying to keep his emotions in check. Kind of makes you wonder what would have happened if the Gaki was properly trained to his fullest potential. Asked the shadow clone with Kakashi snorting in disgust. That brat, trained to be unstoppable. Hardly. It was never going to happen, explained Kakashi calmly while still reading his book. Really, how can you be so sure? Asked the shadow clone with Kakashi eyeing him with his one eye. What do you mean? Asked Kakashi while staring at the disguised shadow clone of Naruto. Well, the kid has a mind of his own right. So he's going to train to get stronger whether with help or if he does it on his own, explained the shadow clone with Kakashi eyeing him a second longer before going back to his book. That is true. As to the answer to your question, the brat was never going to be trained to his fullest potential, because an order by the Sandaime Hokage was put in place to keep him from reaching it, and Tsunade was doing the same thing. A powerful beast like that needs to be put on a tight leash, and training has to be heavily monitored so we know when to tug the leash hard, answered Kakashi with Naruto shadow clone humming in false agreement. Tug too hard, though, and the beast will snap his jaws on the hand that pulls, countered the shadow clone while Kakashi shrugged. We'll see about that. I'm personally looking forward to seeing the Kyuubi brat brought down and humbled before the Hokage, Kakashi said casually. Yes, I'm sure it will be a very interesting experience for everyone. That day will be long remembered without a doubt, said the shadow clone before waving bye to the Jounin and left to go to an alley somewhere to dispel himself. Just being around Kakashi made the shadow clone want to kill itself. With Naruto. Naruto absorbed the memories of his shadow clone, smirking as he did knowing Konoha lost some troops that were innocent in the whole affair, yet thrown to the wolves hungry for blood, and boy did they get it. Ha! That old bitch killed 4 innocent Jounin-level shinobi, and they didn't even do anything to deserve it. Walking along the road, Naruto noticed from where he was on his map, which he easily purchased in the last town, that he was at the border of Fire Country leading into one of the smaller countries, and had a small shinobi village by the name of Taki. Frowning in thought, Naruto remembered a history lesson back at the academy about how a shinobi of Taki tried to assassinate the Sandaime Hokage, and no doubt to keep the peace the Senju gave them the 7-tailed Biju that was sealed into a Jinchuriki. And Naruto was willing to bet his remaining eye the Jinchuriki in Taki was treated like garbage. Easy kit. Don't start making more enemies faster than you can put down, warned Kyuubi with Naruto stopping for a moment. Who said I'm going to make more enemies? I'm heading to Taki to make a new friend and ally, thought Naruto with Kyuubi not seeing things that way. This will not end well, said Kyuubi to himself. Ignoring Kyuubi complete at this point, Naruto headed for Taki in an attempt to gain more friends to help even the playing field against his considerable size of enemies. Konoha, Orochimaru, Kabuto, the Akatsuki, and anyone else that wanted a piece of his Uzumaki hide. In order to counter this, Naruto would need allies in those that would also be targets of his enemies and turn them into his allies. Or as the old saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Forest of Taki sometime later. Fu sighed from her position in the tree, as she stared at the village she swore to protect, and the people inside of it from harm. Normally, a shinobi loyal to their village wouldn't be bothered by this, but for Fu it was different since the simple fact she was Jinchuriki of the 7-tailed Biju made people despise her. They hated her with a passion, not caring if she were to just one day die from defending the village, and them from an outside force hell-bent on destroying them. They'd sooner show mercy to the enemy invaders than to her, and probably let the ones responsible for her death go free if they were among those caught after the battle. Where was the justice? "Hey, Chomai, do you think we should leave Taki?" asked Fu while the beetle inside of her buzzed for a second. "Hard to say, my little larva. While it would be nice to relocate someplace where you could be appreciated, the chances of that are slim, and if you are caught, I'm sure consequences will arise," answered Chomai with Fu nodding, since that was always a considerable possibility. "You're right. Still, if the opportunity arose where I could be free, should I take it?" asked Fu as she heard more buzzing from her biju and knew the demonic entity was weighing everything. "Considering it will possibly be a one-time thing that won't come up ever again in your lifetime, I would," answered Chomai with Fu nodding, but the girl sighed once again while looking out at the sight of Taki in the distance. "Well, I'm not going to hold my breath on the matter. The chances of us getting away from Taki are slim to none," replied Fu while leaping off the tree to the ground below. "Don't be so sure of that," replied a voice from the shadows, and Fu instantly went on guard. "Who is there? Show yourself," commanded Fu with the sound of a chuckle being heard echoing around her before the figure emerged from the shadows. "Will this do?" asked the figure with Fu being cautious of him. "Identify yourself," commanded Fu while sensing her biju was suddenly getting a bit agitated. "I am Uzumaki Naruto. I am the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi, and you are Fu, the Jinchuriki of Nanabi, correct?" replied Naruto with Fu taking a step back but brought out a kunai to both her hands and gauged him carefully. "And what if I am?" "You may be a Jinchuriki, but all Jinchuriki belong to a hidden village, and last I checked, Kyuubi belonged to Konoha," Fu shot back with Naruto narrowing his one blue eye at her. "Kyuubi doesn't belong to Konoha, nor does his vessel for that matter. We are free from their chains and shackles simply because we broke free of them," answered Naruto with his cold blue eye piercing Fu's orange ones. "So you claim?" Fu shot back with Naruto pulling out a bingo book and tossing it to her feet. "Look at page number 167, marked halfway among those listed under S-rank missing nin." Naruto countered with Fu kicking the book at first to see if it was an actual bingo book, and then picking it up to the suggested page he referred to while keeping an eye on him. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Home village, Konoha. Shinobi status, S-rank missing nin from and Jinchuriki. Information, Uzumaki Naruto is a Jinchuriki of a biju, most likely Kyuubi given the attack well over a decade ago when the Yondaime Hokage fought it. Believed to be dead but no body to confirm, and evidence of surviving an attack by Konoha Shinobi upon his defection from Konoha is shown. Considered hostile, unstable, and extremely dangerous with extent on how to use the powers of his biju being unknown. Approach with extreme caution and in large, strong groups. Reward, 300 million ryo upon being captured and returned to Konoha alive. "That's your bounty, it's huge," exclaimed Fu with Naruto letting out a chuckle. "It's going to get larger in a few years," replied Naruto, knowing he was going to get the attention of Konoha before long and really hit them hard. "And you want me to join you despite the bounty on your head?" asked Fu, knowing if she did, Taki would raise a fuss and get herself put down with a sizable bounty too. "Why not? Two strong Jinchuriki working together is better than either of us being alone, and considering the Akatsuki organization is hunting us." "We need a united front," Naruto answered with Fu raising an eyebrow at him. "The who?" questioned Fu with Naruto frowning. "You mean no one from your village has told you yet?" asked Naruto with Fu frowning further. "Told me what?" asked Fu with a demanding tone in her voice. "The Akatsuki organization is hunting Jinchuriki for their biju. The group intends to extract them from their hosts for some big master plan. The group consists of 9 S-class missing nin, who group themselves into pairs, and each pair has the ability to neutralize a Jinchuriki's ability to use the chakra of their biju. This gives them an edge since almost all Jinchuriki are isolated, abused, and controlled in terms of how strong they can get. We are never allowed to reach our full potential Fu because the villages that created us to be their living weapons fear our wrath should we decide to lash out those that hate us," said Naruto with Fu looking in the direction she knew where Taki was and bit her lip. "And you propose we unite to take the fight to them?" asked Fu at last with Naruto just giving her a nod. "They expect us to be alone, no support, no friends, and no help from anyone because of what we are in life. With Jinchuriki uniting together, we make them sweat, we make them shiver in fear instead of the other way around, and we make them pay for trying to push us around like so many have done to us in the past. It's time we push back," exclaimed Naruto with Fu thinking things over until finally she nodded in agreement. I'll do it. I'll probably never get another chance like this, so I will help you in any way I can, replied Fu, since it was either this or be out here until the Akatsuki came for her to get Chomai. Fu was going to fight. That's the spirit. Come on. We have to go before one of Taki's patrols comes along to check up on you, said Naruto, with Fu following close behind him. How do you know that? Asked Fu while Naruto just smirked. Because I know how shinobi villages operate with their Jinchuriki. They always make sure to keep an eye on them while making sure their Jinchuriki don't know it. They let us have a false sense of freedom, which they exploit with their secret surveillance, and when they wish to orchestrate sudden attacks before rescuing us, so we feel grateful to them, answered Naruto, with Fu nodding since she had taken hits here and there from people in the village, though nothing too severe that she was scarred her for life. And if they try to follow us? Asked Fu curiously. We kill them, answered Naruto in a firm voice that told Fu he would do it too. Hawkage Tower 2 days later. Hey, I got a hit on Naruto, exclaimed an excited Jiraiya from the window of Tsunade's office. What, where, when, how? Asked Tsunade while practically leaping out of her chair. One of my spies overheard a guy calling himself Naruto walking through a town in Waterfall Country after being near Taki Shinobi Village. He was traveling with a green-haired girl named Fu, who upon checking with my other sources determined she was in fact the seven-tailed Jinchuriki from Taki, and they were both stained in dried blood, said Jiraiya, with the last part making Tsunade's eyes widen in surprise. Dried blood, you mean they? Asked Tsunade, with Jiraiya nodding. Killed a few people. Yeah, and not just any few people either. They killed Taki Shinobi patrolling where the girl was supposed to be when guarding Taki's wall, and pursued her to find out why she wasn't at her post. The group following them was 4 Jounin and 3 Chunin to be exact, explained Jiraiya, with Tsunade's narrowing. So the brat isn't above killing people, replied Tsunade, while Jiraiya nodded, knowing this was not a good thing. Killing is an understatement, Tsunade. The group that pursued them were slaughtered and basically cut to pieces. From the amount of blood on each of them, I'd guess Naruto killed more than Fu did, but only because she's still not used to the idea of killing someone unless it's necessary, and probably made those she killed die painlessly, explained Jiraiya, with Tsunade gritting her teeth. What's Taki doing about this? Asked Tsunade, knowing the minor shinobi village wasn't going to like this one bit. They put the girl Fu in the bingo book and posted a bounty of their own for both of them, though their bounty on Naruto is if he's dead. Fortunately for us, the bounty we have for him is much higher, explained Jiraiya, as he saw Tsunade looking pissed off and ready to hurt someone. Find out where he is, Jiraiya. Pin down a precise location and then have Kakashi go with a platoon of Konoha shinobi to bring him back, ordered Tsunade, with Jiraiya smirking at her. Already did. He's in Moss Country. Both Jinchuriki are being heavily pursued by several shinobi the moment. Apparently the bounty on them is too much to pass up for Iwa and Kumo, since they'll want those two for themselves, informed Jiraiya proudly. While those teams get thinned out, our team will swoop in and grab both Jinchuriki for our own use, exclaimed Tsunade, knowing victory would soon be theirs if planned right. I got Kakashi ready to go with a large team of ANBU. Tenzo is heading there too, since his ability to stop a Jinchuriki from using their power is crucial until I can put some seals on them, explained Jiraiya, with Tsunade nodding in agreement. Go with them. Bring those two here immediately, commanded Tsunade, while Jiraiya grinned, gave a mock salute, and was out the window in an instant. Moss Country, at the moment. This wasn't exactly what I had in mind when joining you, called out Fu, as she took down an Iwa Jounin and a Chunin by using her high-velocity speed while wielding a pair of kunai in each hand. And what did you have in mind exactly? A walk through a field of flowers? Asked Naruto, as he cut through one Kumo shinobi with his clawed hand, and another with the sword of Jubai, before using the latter to slice open another Kumo shinobi's throat with blood spraying everywhere. Maybe. It beats being hunted by shinobi all the time. Fu shot back while Naruto let out a cruel laugh and sliced through 2 Iwa shinobi trying to team up against him. Can't argue with you there, said Naruto before smashing his knee into the face of one Kumo shinobi, grabbed one from Iwa by the throat, crushed it, and threw the body onto the ground. When it was over, Naruto along with Fu came out victorious and covered in the blood of their enemies. Taking what they could from the corpses, they put them in 2 separate piles and burned them while taking their shinobi ID cards, knowing he could see who in these groups did they kill. Another positive thing was several of the shinobi from both Iwa and Kumo had a solid amount of money on them, so the expenses when traveling were now lightened. So what is the plan exactly? I know we have to get the other Jinchuriki on our side, but that's easier said than done, and every shinobi is looking to hunt us down, asked Fu as they walked away from the slaughter, and Naruto's one eye narrowed while thinking. First, we need to get to Suna. I need to have a chat with my old friend Gaara since he's the Kazekage now from what I've heard. Once we handle our business in Suna, we'll act accordingly from there and move to get the others on our side, explained Naruto with Fu frowning at him. Even if we get the other Jinchuriki on our side, it won't be enough, and we practically need a country backing us in this plan, explained Fu with Naruto letting out a chuckle. Just one country, huh? I just so happen to know of 2 such countries that would be more than willing to help us. But first, I need to get to Gaara in Suna and ask for his support in any way that can be of benefit to us. He's a Jinchuriki too, so we won't have to worry about him ratting us out to Konoha since they aren't allies anymore, replied Naruto with Fu's eyes popping out of her skull. Seriously, what did you do to get so many influential people on your side? Asked Fu with Naruto looking at her for a moment with a smile on his face. Ask them yourselves when we meet each one, answered Naruto before letting out a laugh while she pouted. Jerk, thought Fu while Chomai buzzed inside of her. Perhaps my little larva, but you can't deny the boy is someone who should be feared and respected for his skills. That sword he holds is older than even the Biju, and for him to wield it, this boy walks a path of greatness, said Chomai with Fu looking a bit startled from hearing this. Seriously, thought Fu since she didn't want Naruto to know about their conversation. Yes, that sword is none other than the sword of Jubai, forged from the very fang of Jubai, which all 9 Biju had been at one point in life once long ago and was lost to the ages. I don't know how this Uzumaki Naruto got a hold of the sword, but I do know this. Only someone of the sage's direct bloodline could wield that weapon like he is now, replied Chomai with the Biju's words sinking into Fu's mind the ramifications of this information. And to think he's roughly my age, thought Fu while looking at Naruto's back with the blonde unaware of her gazing at him in awe. Not to mention he is Kyubai's vessel. To cross him would be to cross death itself, replied Chomai, and Fu agreed. Maybe traveling with him won't be so bad after all, thought Fu with a smile on her face, and a stirring from within was felt. Though what that was exactly, Fu had yet to find out. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share, and do comments.